Good evening. Good evening. How you doing? This is Coach Carvel Bailey, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Life and Basketball. And on this show, what we do is we talk about how the game of basketball as well as life are both synergistic and how they go hand in hand and have so much in common with one another. And so what we do again on this show is we bring coaches, we bring former coaches, we bring players, former players, we bring officials, former officials, as well as those individuals that have been very, very valuable in the game of basketball. And we bring them on the show and we let them talk about how little orange basketball has oftentimes changed their life and in some instances even saved their lives. So the show is being brought to you by Bless the Ball Skill Development Academy, where we help parents of unrecruited or under-recruited student athletes save money on college by helping their athlete find the right scholarship for them. The show is also being brought to you by Understanding Life Through the Game of Basketball. This is my first book. This is where the show was birthed from. The show was actually birthed from this book, Life and Basketball, and the book Understanding Life Through the Game of Basketball. And so basically what this book is, what you'll understand on the show is basketball concepts, right? How you take basketball concepts, basketball principles, and you apply them to your life. And it'll make you an overall better person as well as a better leader. So I'll put some links to how you can get this book and some other goodies a little bit later on in the show. Also, tonight, I am super, super pleased. Certain individuals that have been part of this show and everybody that has come on to this show is very, very special to me in their own way. And, but this individual, we have a lot of history. This individual has helped me just grow as a professional, has helped me grow as a coach, has helped me grow as a person. It's nothing like learning from a Hall of Famer. And so this individual has won time and time again. He's proven himself to be a winner. People say make lemonade out of lemons. This person has, no matter what environment he's in, has proven that he can be successful, he can teach, he can be professional, and that he can win. And so that's what's made this individual a Hall of Famer a couple times around. As a coach, his basketball mind is second to none. I would definitely say second to none. The things that he's taught me, just the way that he sees the game, is totally different from a lot of other coaches that I know, a lot of individuals that I know. And this person, again, has shown why he's been successful at every stop along this whole basketball career. Not only a basketball coach, but an athletic coach or a physical education as well as life coach. And all the things that he does, he wraps it right back around to just like this show talking about life. And so I am proud to present to some and introduce to others my buddy, my main man, Coach Thomas Johnson. TJ, how you doing tonight, man?
Great, man. How's it going? Thanks for the introduction, man.
I am doing great, man. I am doing great, man. I'm happy to have you. And certain individuals that I get on the show and people like, man, how you pull him out? You do be out, but you're not a person that has to be in the limelight. People see you, a lot of different places, but you're not one of those individuals that's throwing elbows to get to the front. You're gonna kind of play your, position. Don't always have to be on camera. We kind of talked about this, and we had a couple interviews after your game, but nothing like this. So just to be able to get you to come out and share your knowledge and your education with us, man, I sincerely appreciate it. But first and foremost, man, how are you and the family doing?
Everybody's well, man. We're staying healthy and we definitely staying safe. I mean, especially in this condition here, which is kind of crazy right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you gotta, stay healthy and safe, man. And I know you ain't a person that's gonna mess around. If don't go down that street, You ain't
No.
going down that street, and we'll kind of talk about that later. But
Right.
for the people that may know Coach TJ, right?
Mhm.
But who exactly is Thomas Johnson, the man? Can you just break that down to us a little bit?
Okay, well, I'll give you a little background for me.
Okay.
Well, I've been in coaching over 20-something years. I actually started in education as a physical education teacher, but I worked in management. I used to work at Walgreens and other things.
Yeah.
And so one of my sisters kept telling me, hey, you sleeping on your rights. You're sleeping on your rights. So I got tired of her saying that. So I got a job at an elementary school and ran into a coach. And he asked me if I wanted to coach because, in college, of course, I did some intramural coaching,
Right.
enjoyed it.
Right.
And my first job I was assistant coach at Prosser High School with the boys. And that lasted a year because the coach got fired and we went to the girls' side.
Okay.
So I was at Prosser for 2 years. 1 year as a sophomore coach. The second year, I was the head coach.
Okay.
And from there, I went over to Collins High School as a sophomore coach.
Yeah.
Left there, went to Washington High School as a sophomore coach. When I was there, we just so happened I was there for 3 years, and 2 of the 3 years we played for the city championship. After that, I went back to Collins as the head coach. I was there for 5 years.
Wow.
And left there and got the Morgan Park job. I was at Morgan Park for 8 years. And then, of course, I got fired. And then I went over to South Shore for 4 years.
Okay.
And then 2 years ago, they called me back at Morgan Park. So that's been my, trial. So I really enjoy, the things that I do. The most part, I enjoy helping the girls because to me, the girls have always been treated as second-class citizens, and that's not right.
Absolutely.
And so I fight for them, and I enjoy working with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I love it, man. And I've learned, especially with you, that sometime when you talking, and this is I would say a family show. We got students, athletes, as well as coaches that chime in. But I've learned that, sometime when you talking, to just be quiet, and I mean, we, may say it another way at times, but,
Right.
but I think that that's important because we can learn more when we listening, if that makes sense. And so oftentimes we want to just cut people off and talk, and that may happen tonight a little bit, but just to kind of stay in tune with where the show is going. But you kind of went over some things that we're going to go over, just part of your story. But before we do, I don't want to skip over what you said that your sister was saying. You sleeping on your rights. You sleeping on your rights. You sleeping on your rights. Can you break that down to us a little bit, TJ?
Yeah. Well,
what does that mean?
Okay. Well, I had actually graduated out of Eastern Illinois.
Okay.
And instead of me going into education, because at the time of education, when I graduated, they weren't making any money, and I had a family.
Right.
So of course I got to take care of my family first.
Right.
So retail management to me was just like coaching. Is getting people to do things for you.
Absolutely.
So that's all coaching is. And so I was pretty successful in retail management, but she was just saying, that there's people that I could help. That's what she kept telling me, sleeping on my rights.
Yeah.
To go into the public school and help those kids that need help.
I love that. Help those that need help. And we talk about it all the time, and we talked about it before we came on, actually, the last thing that we just talked about, but it makes so much sense because a lot of your I don't want, throughout your journey, but since I've known you, since our relationship, your purpose has been to help the people that need help, and so like if that was ingrained in you, even young, then that makes so much sense, me learning, more
Right.
about that. Now, we will get into your your sisters and family and everything, but what a lot of people don't know is one of your former players that should have been one of your former players, prime time franchise, we call it Taranika, that's doing a great
my
job.
girl.
Yeah, doing a great job over there at Crane.
Yes, she is.
Now, a lot of people don't know, but TJ, you're actually from downstate.
Yes, I am.
Born and raised in Cairo, and I had a college.
Cairo.
Okay. Oh,
Cairo.
yep, correct me. And I only know one person from there, one of my college teammates named Brian Lowe. But we know if we driving through Mississippi, we know we almost out the state once we kind of get there. Can you talk about growing up and correct me if I say it wrong again, Cairo?
Correct.
Right.
You're good. You're doing good.
Cairo. So tell us, what was life really like growing up in Cairo, and how did that mold you into the person that we now see today?
Well, the biggest thing is that, and I said to everybody, which is just true, Cairo was just like America, black and white.
Okay.
And in Cairo, of course, you got those railroad tracks in the middle of the town. One side is the black, the other side is the white.
Okay.
But I was fortunate because my mother, she was a housekeeper.
Okay.
And she used to keep house for some of the most prominent white people in Cairo, like the pharmacists. The pharmacist in a small town is probably on the same pedestal as a doctor.
Absolutely.
So that was my first involvement in talking to and being around white people, because I used to go to work with her and had a great rapport. I never had any racial problem, not whatsoever.
Okay.
It was fun growing up. It was fun. And, we had friends, across the track and on both sides of the tracks, really.
Yeah.
The ones that mess things up, in life, even today, is the adults.
Oh, absolutely.
It ain't the kids, it's the adults.
Yeah.
So I left Cairo when I was in the 4th grade, and I moved to Milwaukee. And I was at Milwaukee from the 5th grade, my 5th grade year, until high school.
Okay.
Because my mother had passed when I was in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And I lived with one of my older brothers. He helped raise me.
Okay.
Then I came to Chicago and went to Hyde Park. Man, Hyde Park. I'm from Milwaukee. I don't know nothing about Chicago.
Right.
The only thing I had in my favor was that I had an older brother.
Okay.
And I had a nephew that went to Hyde Park.
Okay.
They didn't want to be around no little freshman.
Yeah.
So I had to learn on my own. So I had a very successful career at Hyde Park. I played sports. I participated in football and ran track. I was a basketball manager. But even then, those gym teachers and those coaches actually inspired me to want to be a gym teacher and a coach.
Okay.
And so that's what happened. That's what I did. And I've had a lot of fun. I have really no regrets, at all. And we just working it out even more. We're doing just trying to help kids, man. Trying to help kids to become the best that they can be.
Best that they can be. Absolutely. So now let's back up just for a second, TJ. you know, and I always like to just spend a little time on the foundation so people kind of know exactly what motivates people, what drives people, why they do what they do. But, you know, so the people can kind of understand a little bit more about you. But, you know, when you said, you know, your mom was, you know, a house cleaner, and, you know, you all would go to different, you know, to prominent people's houses. How did that help you in understanding the train tracks, right? You know,
Yep, that's
it's,
what it is.
it's you know, a difference in two different lifestyles, two different lives. But how did seeing what your mother did and you going to work with her, you know, in these quote unquote prominent, you know, for these prominent people, or, you know, people of a certain esteem in the community, like how did that help you build up your self-confidence, but also your like humbleness? Because, you know, I mean, as you said, if you never had any racial problems in a town that was kind of divided, you know, you got to pick a side, then that tells me that you were able to keep your cool, but you were also a little bit self-confident to where you didn't let certain things get to you, if that makes sense. So
Right.
so like
Well,
how
the
did going
major thing,
to her?
what I learned with those prominent people and my mother was that they were respectful to her,
Okay.
and that was the biggest thing. And somebody told me a long time ago, which is so true. There's good and bad in every race.
I love
There's
that.
bad in our race,
Yep. Yep.
you know, just as bad as in their race.
Yep.
And so, you know, those are things that I learned and I held on to. And then I've never been ashamed to ask questions.
Oh, that's big, TJ. Yeah.
You know, I've always asked questions. I want to know why. I want to know why was the train tracks.
Right.
You know, I mean, later for the train,
Right.
why do we have to cross the, you
Right.
know,
Right.
and
Right.
you shouldn't go across the train tracks
Yeah.
and vice versa. You
Yeah.
know, I have questions like that, you know, and of course, you know, it's America,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and um, we're not raised to hate.
Absolutely.
You know, we're just not. We're not taught,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I know, Tony. Yeah, and I'm just saying. So that's what that was about, man. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just a great feeling, you know, to have been in that era and that time
Yeah.
to learn that. So when I came to Chicago, I understood racism,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then on top of that, I went to East Illinois. And
Right.
hey, let's just keep it real. When I went to East Illinois, I was the 67th Black student on the campus.
Mm.
So now,
Okay.
if you lived in the dorm,
Now hold on, TJ. We ain't gonna get too far ahead because we going there in a minute. But I wanna stay here for a minute
okay,
so that it all makes sense. So now, you know, your mother passed away, you know, God rest her soul,
right,
and now you have to move to Milwaukee, you know, with
right,
you know, family. And
right. Well, one of
so
my brothers,
right. And so now you were there for a few years before now coming to Chicago and then going to Hyde Park Career Academy. But how was
no,
that
we wasn't
transition?
no career. No, we wasn't no career academy. We
Oh,
was
at that point.
high school.
Okay, just Hyde Park.
We was Indians, not
Okay,
Thunderbirds.
right, absolutely, which is a whole difference. But now, how was that transition going from downstate and now you're going to Milwaukee, which is kind of got some similarities, like, you know, Chicago, but not really. But how was that transition for you as a young Black male?
Well, uh, first of all, you know, I forgot to tell you this. I'm the 13th child.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 7 brothers
Okay,
and 5 sisters.
okay,
You know, and so I lived with one of my older brothers who was in the Air Force. He had just got out the Air Force and starting
okay,
his own family. And so of course, he treated me like his son and not his brother.
Brother, yeah.
But always in the back of my mind, I always said and always felt, I'm just his brother.
Mm-hmm.
He has a family.
Right.
I'm his brother.
Right.
And so that just stuck in my mind. So, man, in class, I was very mischievous.
Okay.
When I was in Milwaukee. I mean, maybe that I was looking for attention.
Yeah.
But and of course, my mother died, so I was hurting. I mean, and wasn't no counseling back then. And, you couldn't go and talk to nobody about that. I mean, you just go to bed crying every night. And hating that your mother died, and you want to know why.
Right.
You ask God why.
Right.
And he wasn't answering me right then and there.
Right.
So, I had to just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that I was here for a purpose, and so I just strive hard. I listen a lot. Yeah, I might not talk a lot, but I listen a lot and pay attention.
Yeah.
Because right there, that's knowledge,
Yeah.
that you're getting. A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And then coming to Chicago, and like I said, I had a brother that was actually 5 years older than I was, and then I had a nephew 3 years older than I was. But they're living their life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm just a little brother, or they little uncle.
Right.
So we had separate friends. But everybody knew, who I was or whatever. But and I strived, to become the best I could be as a person.
Yeah.
And continue to helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a struggle.
Yeah.
Because once again, one of my older brothers, he had a family. I'm just his little brother.
Yeah. And so I'm sure that, at some point in the back of your mind, and I want to use this word carefully, but you didn't want to be a burden,
Correct.
on them. Correct. And so, now you make the transition to Chicago, and now, you're in Hyde Park, which is a whole, like city within a city, itself. And now you go to Hyde Park High School. What was the makeup at Hyde Park High School at that point, TJ?
Well, when I got there, and I never knew nothing about them until they started, the Blackstone Rangers.
Okay. Yeah.
Was heading up at that time.
Okay.
So my freshman year, I didn't hear too much, and I didn't know too much.
Right.
But my sophomore year, all of a sudden, a lot of my classmates transferred.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know, what they was transferring for. I wasn't hip to no gang because, Milwaukee, we ain't got no gang. We just some boys,
Right. Absolutely.
And so they left because they were at that time called the D's.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't know, at the time I lived in the D's neighborhood and went to Hyde Park, which was Blackstone.
Yeah.
And I used to walk because naive, I guess. I didn't know.
Right.
Plus, I'm not messing with nobody, and that's not what I'm doing.
Right. Right.
So, but I was an athlete, and that made a lot of difference. Nobody messed with me because I was an athlete.
Right. Right.
And they knew that I wasn't about gang banging.
That right. Yeah. And we don't, I don't even get into, that on the show if it comes up and doing that's part of life, right? The gangs. But what a lot of people don't, or many people, let's say, may not understand what you're talking about, but both of those gangs originated in Hyde Park.
Yeah.
And so, it makes sense what you're saying now, a certain group, the D's or the disciples, whatever. Now they're leaving because majority of now, as you say, the Blackstones are still in the school. You know, and at one point in time, as you said, freshman year, you didn't hear a lot, so everybody was intermingling, during that time. And so, you're a student at, Hyde Park, you're an athlete, and as you said, your PE teachers and your coaches kind of really got you wanting to get involved in physical education. So you go to Eastern Illinois. And, as you said at that time, you was the 67th Black that was in the school at that time. So having kind of been down that road, but not really having no problems with any other race from, Cairo, like, how was that? You go to Eastern and you go to Eastern to be an education major. Am I correct?
Yes.
So, how was that transition? Like where did 67 come from? At registration, did they say you the 67th one, or that just came from, again, you asking questions?
Asking questions, and you could see how many was in your class.
Okay.
Wasn't too many, if any, in your class.
Yeah.
With only 67 of us.
Yeah.
But after that, we got a whole bunch of Black folks. Got 1,000 the next year.
Wow.
They came from Chicago.
They was giving away scholarships or something?
No. They had a hell of a recruiter.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They was coming from East St. Louis and coming from Chicago, coming from Decatur, Danville. They was coming from all over the state, coming to Eastern.
Okay.
And back at that time, man, we was on quarters.
Yeah.
So, man, 12 weeks, a lot of them got back on the train. I was fortunate. I never had to get on the train.
Yeah.
But you couldn't come down there playing. You had to come down there on business.
Okay.
I mean, and it was about coming down there getting an education.
Yeah.
Now we had a great time, after school, after we learned how to deal with school.
Yeah.
We had parties, and it was a great time. I had my one of my best time in college. At Eastern. And the white folks, they weren't no different. And plus, too, like I said, my first roommate, man, he walked in the door and he see me sitting in his chair. And then as it go on, he wants to take me down to his crib in Salem, Illinois. I don't know if I can go down to Salem, Illinois.
It might not be in my best interest. Not at that time. Yeah.
Right. So, now I had no problems.
Now you said something, TJ, and for the parents that's watching and listening, and I hope that they're taking notes, as well as any athletes that's listening, but definitely the coaches. And I think the coaches, if they can help the athletes identify with this and be able to help them with this, it would make school much more entertaining. What you said was you had to learn how to deal with school. Like, break that down, TJ.
Well, Bailey, I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Okay.
So I had to really, pay attention. And like I said, I wasn't afraid to ask questions. If I didn't know it, I'm definitely asking. I mean, maybe I'm a little pest to you because I'm asking, but I'm asking because I want to know.
You want to know. Yeah.
It's knowledge.
Yeah.
And I know that it's going to help me down the line. I mean, I just, I wasn't the greatest math student, but I never got an F or a D in math.
Yeah.
Because I asked questions and I learned how to do it. It might have took me a little longer to do the problem than others, but I mastered the problem.
Right. And understanding, as you said, and how I'm taking to understand how to deal with school as you said, now, yeah, we went to parties but one, it takes a balance because you have to be a student, and yeah, part of being a student, you have those responsibilities of go to class, get your homework done, do your assignments, especially in a rigorous at that time, with education, having much more of a rigorous, curriculum. But now you got to balance the social life, as
Right.
well as continue to pour into your personal life to just become better as an individual.
Well,
So
also, Bailey, I thought that I said one thing, and I thought one thing when I was at Eastern is that I might have been the only black in class, but what I figured out, they couldn't teach me nothing different than what they teach the rest of them kids.
Oh, that's a nugget right there. They couldn't teach you nothing different because y'all in the same class.
Exactly.
So it wasn't like when TJ left, when Thomas left, now they gonna get a real formula.
Exactly.
as long as Thomas is paying attention, he gonna get the same thing that they getting.
Same as they getting.
I've never heard it. I've never heard it put like that, TJ. But that just opens up like that. That statement can open up somebody's mind to a whole different way of thinking. Like, even though if somebody feel like it's two different worlds or whatever, but and we understand that there's a difference in education from maybe one community to a different community. But when you're there, you have to be there.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. Now, you went to be a physical education teacher, and it's only two people that I know that have made this statement to me, and you're one of them. I'm a physical education teacher, or in your case, I was a physical education teacher, not a gym teacher.
Right.
Can you break that down?
Yeah, well, that's always been kind of like my pet peeve. To me, a gym teacher is the person that rolls out the ball and controls the gym.
Yeah.
Physical education, I'm teaching you, I'm giving you knowledge of a sport or a game or whatever, but I'm giving you knowledge. I'm not just rolling the ball out for you to learn on your own.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest difference. But we're getting much better in society. We do have now more physical education teachers, gym teachers, but we still do have a few gym teachers now. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. but that goes back, to your point. It's a good and bad and everything.
Exactly.
So, okay. Now you graduate from Eastern, and as you said, you wanted to go into the retail management sector. You got this degree in education, and nowadays we see it all the time. Students may want to major in one thing, get a job in something totally different. That's based on how the economy is or whatever. But now you spend all this time and all this hard work learning how to deal with school, understanding who you are, maintaining through the parties and all the fun. And now you get this degree, but now you go work for Walgreens. Tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I started working for Walgreens, like I stated, is that I had a family. And so I had to raise my family. And of course, when I first came back to Chicago from East Illinois, I stayed with one of my older brothers who had taken care of me in high school. And I moved back with him, but this time I got two other people with me.
Yeah.
And so that's not the type of life that I wanted, wanted for myself or for my family. Absolutely. And so I was applying for jobs. Like I said, initially I was going to go to CPS, but CPS really wasn't paying any money. And I needed money because I had a family.
Yeah.
And retail management was paying money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I didn't know, but I've never backed down or strayed away from hard work. Retail management is hard.
Mm.
And the reason why it's hard, and I tell everybody this, retail management is great for a single person
Mm.
because you work 24/7
Wow.
every day.
Mm.
Hey, Steve, every day, you know, that's what you do. I
Yeah.
mean, and if you're trying to raise a family, it don't fit well.
Mm.
And so, but like I said, I knew how to get people to do things by asking them,
Yeah.
you know, not telling them. I mean,
Yeah.
it's totally different things. Even today, man, you know, that's the problem of some of our educators is that we really don't ask. You know, we're more demanding and trying to
Talent. Yeah.
you know, and people's going to rebel from that.
Mm.
And then too, you have to be willing to do whatever you ask somebody else to do. You should be willing to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. Yeah. Because how you gonna tell me to do it if you ain't gonna do it, or if you ain't
Exactly.
never, or if you ain't never done it? And you know, I mean, the thing with management, and you know, as Dino said, you know, Walgreens started a lot of African Americans in management. You know,
Yep.
Jewel did too. You know, both my
Yep.
mom and dad, you know, started in management. You know, at Jewel. So you know, I understand what you're saying, especially around that time, if it's the retail management. But you know, retail management, as you said, was basically just like coaching, because now you're you know, getting people to do things, you know, which one helps the team, but by
Correct.
asking them to do things. So that goes back to just your whole thing from childhood, going to work when your mom was cleaning the houses, asking those questions. And
Correct.
now by asking those questions, one, asking questions is a conversation starter, if
Yep.
nothing else, you know. So if you're
Yep.
uncomfortable, you know, and so again, being an education, if a student is uncomfortable, you know, ask a question. But we've been dumbed down to, you know, it's a silly question, it's a stupid question,
Yep.
don't ask that question. So now we kind of muffle because we feel a certain way. And that's why I was asking you. It seemed like you had that self-confidence about yourself also when you were younger, because certain things may not have bothered you because you didn't get into conflict. And we know at
Correct.
some point down there in Cairo, it was some, you know, somebody went over the track wasn't supposed to, right? So
Right.
it was some conflict. But you stated that, you know, by asking people questions and getting them to do, you know, what you would like them to do or what they can do. Can you really break down for me, TJ, the the magic behind not just asking questions, but as you said earlier, asking why? You know, you was asking God, why did your, you know, mother pass away? You
Right.
know, and so you've, and asking questions is different than questioning. Would you
Correct.
agree? And
Yeah. Oh,
so,
without a doubt.
but now I can ask you what, I can ask you how, I can ask you when, I can ask you where, but why is that magic word why?
Well, this is the whole key, Bailey. Before you can ask me why,
Yeah.
we have to have a relationship. We have to
Okay.
build a relationship. I
Okay.
mean, now
Now
you
why? And I'm asking you why. All right. Before asking you why, it's got to be a relationship. Are
correct.
you saying because you may tell me something I don't want to hear?
Yeah, I might tell you the truth.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
hey, but
Okay.
I can't remember the movie, but hey, man, the truth do hurt. I don't care what anybody.
Oh,
And people can't
absolutely.
handle the truth.
Absolutely.
You know, so I mean, but that's why you have to, you know, especially like in coaching.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you have to build a relationship with your players, with your administrators, with your coaches, with the opposing coaches, with the refs. You have to build relationship. You know, you can't just go in on everybody that you see and you don't know them. I mean, you can have a relationship and solve problems without even saying a word.
Yeah.
You know.
Now that's big, and we're gonna get into that when we get to the coaching that's right now. But you said that in coaching, that it's certain relationships that will help you, and this is what I'm hearing. It's certain relationships that will help you become better at your craft. And we talking about coaching, so you got to build that relationship with those coaches or with your players. You got to build a relationship with your coaches. You got to build a relationship with administration because, and you know, you can talk about this, and we'll get into this in a minute when we get to the first Morgan Park stint. But if you don't have administrators that are trusting and supporting you, you're in a losing battle.
Correct.
And so, yeah. And so the players, the coaches, the administrators, the referees, and now you say the opposing coaches. Now I've heard 4 of those: the players, the coaches, the administrators, the referees, and I've even heard the parents too, right? Because you know we can't leave them out.
No, you have to have a relationship with them.
But for the coaches that's watching this, and I really want you to really, you know, help educate the coaches tonight, the coaches and the parents. But why do I need to build a relationship with the opposing coach? Like, I mean, you know, it might drive me if we don't like one another more to like, nah, I want to beat him or I want to beat her. But why is it important to build relationships with the opposing coaches?
Well, let's start off with this, Bill. First of all, everybody is competitive. Everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you know that want to lose?
Nobody. Right.
So, you know, well, I used to do it at the same time. You know, I coached football.
Yeah.
I was a head football coach for quite a few years.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't know much about football except that I had played football. I enjoyed the game, but I wanted to teach it. So I had to find people willing to help me to learn football. And of course, those was opposing people. I wouldn't have a problem with if you're a football coach and Bailey say, "Hey man, how do you run that Bailey play?"
Right.
You know, I mean, you're gonna do one or the other.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me or you're gonna tell me wrong.
Right.
You know, one of the two.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been very fortunate in my coaching career in finding people to share.
Okay.
Because I share.
Yeah.
But that's the way that I was raised. Hey man, they don't know that they were my mentors, but I had some great mentors coming up.
Okay.
I never said a word to her, but I used to watch her and learn a whole lot from Dorothy Gators. I coached for Willie Bird. And I coached against Arthur Penny.
Yeah.
But those 3 people, like I say, they might not know it, but they taught me a lot. Because I just watched, observed, and like I say, I coached with Bird.
Right.
So, but see, I think everybody, if you want to be good now, you want to be good, you need a mentor.
Better have one.
You know, we talked about that before, Bailey, to one of my coaches, because, you know, I'm an athletic director also.
Yeah.
That you have to find coaches sometimes that's better than you are.
Absolutely.
Or have more knowledge than you. But you can't be afraid. Like I told you earlier, man, I ain't scared of my job.
Right.
The most you can do is get one like mine.
Right.
but you
Can't
have
have mine, but you can
right,
get one like mine.
you can get one just
Yeah.
like mine, identical.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but you have to do that. I mean,
And as the head coach, it's an unwritten rule, but as a head coach, it's your responsibility to help your coaches to get a job like yours if they want one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can go down a list.
Yeah, we ain't gonna get into your coaching tree yet. We
Quite a few coaches I've helped.
we gonna get into that. But now, so you at Walgreens, retail management, and your sister's telling you, you sleeping on your rights. You're sleeping on your rights. You're sleeping on your rights. So, and as you said earlier, from that point, you go and start working in the public school, and you wind up at Prosser. And
Yep.
now you was offered a job there. The coach, was, after a couple years, got fired, and then you were able.
No, I didn't get fired. No, what actually happened is that the head coach, he left Prosser and went to another school.
Oh, so that's what left it open.
Right, he left it open. So, man, they didn't give me that job until September. I had been begging the whole summer, but they didn't give it to me until September. And then I had a young lady that went to my elementary school that was a player, and I tried to get her into Prosser. They wouldn't let her in.
Okay.
So just to prove how much I liked this girl and how well she was, I resigned from Prosser and went to another school and took her with me.
She came with you.
Yep.
Yep. So now this was Collins.
Yep.
That I presume. Okay.
Correct.
So now, you go from Prosser and, both, West Side. You go from Prosser to now you go over to Collins. But Prosser, you was on the boys' side at first, right?
At first, yeah. At first.
Right.
Well, yeah, during the spring. You remember when they used to have spring leagues?
Spring league, yep. Okay.
Yeah, I was coaching the boys.
Okay. And so now you started out on the boys' side, and then you migrated and went over to the girls' side. But then you go over to Collins, and now you're the Far South coach at that time, right?
Correct.
Okay. So now, how did it feel at that point now, like just having your own?
Well, it was, to me, it was never about me, because even when I was a sophomore coach at Prosser, I actually ran the program.
Okay.
I'm just saying, the coach and we used to talk almost every night, but I was the mouthpiece of that program.
Okay.
And so when I go over to Collins, he's the head coach again.
Okay.
And so I'm actually running the program. And so it was no difference. I mean, if people want to say I was playing second fiddle, I didn't mind being second fiddle because the whole key was I was learning.
Right.
I was learning how to be a head coach, man. I mean, I want.
There you go. There you go. And we talk about all the time, but in order to be a good leader, you had to be, or in order to be a great leader, you had to be a good follower too. So, and as you said, learning, because, and this is what happens with athletes a lot of times. And, again, something that you can speak to with, coaches at times be so focused on wanting to win that they may try to push people that are not developed or are not ready. And the same thing happens. And so you understood that. So you had no problem with, again, and that goes back to what I was saying as a child, like you was confident in yourself to not think less than, because one, you asked those questions, and by asking those questions of why, you really, really understand the truth, as you said. So, the truth, you was able to really, really like self-assess early that maybe I'm not ready, or I can always stand to learn more. So if somebody's saying second fiddle, that really didn't mean nothing to you because you knew that you was helping push the program.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was so sad, and I'm gonna say it's sad. When I got to Prosser, I was actually there got to Collins, I was actually there for 1 year. And let me tell you a little story. When I first got there, we had 10 girls, 6 of them were freshmen.
Wow.
And we were in the red.
Yeah.
And so we went and played Lane Tech in the quarterfinals. And they had a big girl that was about 6'3". My biggest girl was about 6 feet, but she was very athletic, jump out the gym.
Yeah.
So prior to that, I had been working women camps. The first women camps that I had worked at was University of Illinois.
Yeah. Okay.
The head coach at that time was Teresa Grentz.
Okay.
And working camps, man, the first thing, I loved it because I was getting all this knowledge.
Yeah.
And then the last day of camp, they're going to tell me they got a check for me.
They got a check for
and I said, what?
For doing this? Yeah.
And I'm, man.
Yeah.
And so I played Lane in a man-to-man. I got the girl in foul trouble, sat on the bench, with 3 fouls. We end up losing the game by 1 point.
Okay.
The head coach was upset with me because I played a man-to-man. And he tried to get me to sign a contract. Tried to get me a contract to say that I would not talk to any college coaches. I would not talk to any newspaper, because it was an article in the newspaper one time because we had upset Sullivan. At the time, Sullivan was like 14-0.
Okay.
In our first conference game.
Yeah.
Our first playoff game, and we beat them. We upset them.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't no biggie. We just won the game.
Right.
And I didn't know who Steve Tucker was at that time.
Right.
And I talked to him. And so one of the head coach's boy that was in the building asked him, hey, man, who's the real coach?
Oh, okay.
So, of course, he felt a little slight.
Now that ego come into play.
Yep. So that's when he tried to get me to sign the contract. And, of course, I wasn't signing no contract.
Right.
And so I left.
Okay.
Got a better position, better job. Now I'm going to a school where I can learn. I'm going to a real program.
Yeah.
I'm going to Washington High School.
Yeah.
Which they was top of the hill.
East side, yeah.
Yep. And learned so much from Bird. It was ridiculous. And just to show you, so the year, like I said, I coached there for 3 years. The last 2 years, we was in the city championship and lost to Marshall both years.
Okay.
But the Collins AD had remembered me, and in 2000, he had offered me the job to come back to Collins.
Okay.
And in 2000, Washington, we went to state and we lost to Buffalo Grove in overtime.
Okay.
And so I had another job as a head coach. So
and so now you were at Washington before Crump.
Right. Crump.
Right.
Yeah. No, Crump was there way before me. Crump.
What?
Actually, Crump is the one that got me the head football coaching job at Washington.
Okay.
Because Crump and I, we went to college together.
Oh, okay.
Crump played on my intramural team that I was a coach. So that's where I got my season.
Now was Crump one of the other 75, or was Crump part of that 1,000 that came in?
He's part of that 1,000.
Oh, okay.
He's part of that 1,000.
Okay. I got it. Okay.
And so that's how, but even when the boys was winning, it was still about the girls at Washington.
Absolutely.
Still about them. So
okay. And so now you mentioned something too, TJ, again, and you're always learning. We'll get into it in a second, but for anybody that know you, when you got downtime, you have your hobbies, but you are in front of something that's going to teach you about basketball or about whatever craft that you're pursuing. And so part of that teaching is, as you said, you went work camps. And I was laughing because you talked about the first camp that you ever worked, but you've worked so many camps to where when we first started talking about camps, you was like, man, I ain't doing all that walking no more. And I don't want no more pizza. Like, them the two things that I, remember about that. But like you say, that first camp, you learn so much. And then at the end of the week, you're like, y'all got to check for me. So like, can you talk about right now, TJ, just the importance of professional development and like going to camps? Because a lot of coaches may not understand that by going to, especially like a college camp, one, you're learning, but also you're now forming those relationships for maybe your next job. But I think what happens now is you may get a lot of coaches that want to go work camps because they just want to get on the college level. And so now they're going to camps to, let's say, brown nose and not necessarily learn. So like, can you really like break that down, like the benefit of going to work some of these camps and, maybe how do people go about, like the young coaches that may be watching, like how did you even go about working camps? And then like, what's the benefits of it?
Okay, well, one of my friends, everybody know him, Hank Hicks. We went to high school together. He's ahead of me.
Okay.
But, he was telling me about camps because he used to work camps.
Okay.
And so I signed up to work Illinois camp. Didn't know nothing about working no girls, women's basketball camp. But this is what I wanted to do. So I started at Illinois working camps. And it was a lot of skills and drills.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that. Mm-hmm. I learned the skills and I learned the drills that I could give to my kids. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point that I worked Illinois camp so much, or so many camps, I was put part of the program damn near.
Yeah.
I got to the point that I had my own gym. And I used to run the whole gym by myself.
Yeah.
Being a manager,
being
a coach.
Yeah.
And at the end of every day, we used to have a coaches meeting. And some of the topic was bring in your best press breaker.
Ooh.
Or bring in your best man-to-man.
Okay.
Or bring in your best out-of-bounds play. Once again, more knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
More relationship.
Mm-hmm. And that's group coaching, because now everybody learning from everybody.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. And we're from all over the country, really.
All over, yeah.
So I did Illinois camps a lot. Then I worked the women's camp at Wisconsin.
Okay.
Learned a lot. And then this is going to freak you out. Shit, I worked Michigan State's men's camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yep. Yep.
Izzo went over to his
Yep.
crib,
Yep.
you know, and get tapes, get plays, whatever.
Yeah, man. They say that Tom Izzo sets it out for the coaches when it come to his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the whole thing is, see, man, at that level, these college coaches don't mind sharing.
Mm. Yeah.
And I had such a great rapport, and they'll tell you, at Washington, we had a girl, her name is Angelina Williams.
Mm.
Teresa, I had told Teresa about her. Teresa came into Washington gym and started recruiting her, gave her a scholarship. She graduated from the University of Illinois on a scholarship.
That's big.
And she taught us a matchup zone that we call 6:30, because that's what time we learned it in the morning. 6:30. But I'm just saying, those are some of the things that I learned in doing camps.
Yeah.
I mean, man, every coach should do camps. I mean,
absolutely.
It's just so much learning if that's what you want to do. I mean, but I know a lot of the coaches today, they're thinking that is who you know. And it's not like that. You know, like I'm telling my girls, you know, just like we ask them to put work in.
Yeah.
As a coach,
we must.
We got to put work in.
Yep. And that goes back to what you said earlier. Like, you're not going to ask somebody to do, back to the retail management. I can't ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you know, as coaches, we have to hone our skills.
Yeah.
We do. And Bailey, just like right now, man, I'm going to tell some of my trade secret. Hey, man, when I go scout, I just look. I don't take no notes. I'm just watching. I'm observing.
Yeah. Getting the real feel.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I know how and what I have to do to try to win.
Right.
You know, but I mean, but I watch DVDs all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because I'm trying to gain knowledge. And if you want to be a good coach and a competitive coach, then you got to get knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can learn from anybody, everybody.
Anybody, everybody, even if it's what not to do. You know, not, you know, and I think, you know, from what you were saying, and since you put it out there, but oftentimes, you know, if coaches do scout, and now it's a lot with huddles and different things streaming online you can do, but if coaches do scout, sometimes they can be so focused with attempting to get every detail, everything, to where they really miss the game.
Correct.
And so by you coming in, and now your strategy is you're going to watch the game. And now just watching the game, you get a much more authentic and real feel. But now you can play it over in your head over and over again, as well as now you can go back to that same question. Now you can answer why. You know, why is this team doing this? Or more so, why would I do this against them? You know, and so now that's really half the scouting battle. Then if you sit and trying to take notes, okay, number 4, number 3, now, you know, you trying to get, and so now you're trying to get so much to where you miss everything, if that makes sense.
But you see, know, the cheater way right now, though, is like you said, it's with huddle.
Huddle. Yep. No, and that's what they
DVDs.
You know,
DVDs, Dino.
You gotta, you know, and I mean, TJ watches them all the time, and so now you know, you leave Washington, you know, and you go back to Collins.
Yep.
So how was it now going back? You know, the AD, you know, remembers you, remember the good things that you did, the knowledge that you had. You know, you had proven again that you can be a winner, and you know, every every episode, I always title the episode based on the individual that's coming on the, show for this particular episode. And so this particular episode is titled Picture a Winner, right? So, and there's a couple different meanings behind that title, right. but you've kind of shown that you can be a winner, at all these different stops so far, right? That we've gotten to, and as you said, if y'all beat a team that's number 14 in the state or what, but that didn't mean a lot to you because you were prepared to be able to beat them. And so now you've left a picture in the AD's mind of who you are. And so now when the coach leaves, he calls you back. So how was it now when you went back to Collins to now be in that first seat?
Well, first of all, I was overjoyed to come back because I still had some of the players that was there when I first came. And and not only that, I was competing. High school coaches don't suppose to use that R word, but I was competing with Fred and Keith on the west side.
Yeah,
man, they were getting kids.
Yeah,
man. I mean, now they taught me how to do that R stuff.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have no shame in their game.
And so what we say on here, TJ, is they did a good job of explaining what the school had to offer.
Okay. Well, I like you. They did a good job in influencing people to come.
Okay.
So, they were doing a great job of influencing people.
Yeah.
So I picked that up. And so, of course, I wasn't never going to get the number 1 or number 2, but I was okay with number 3, 4.
Yeah.
And so I gathered a bunch of them and started teaching, and they were eager to learn.
Okay.
And we won. We was winning. I mean, we had some very big wins while I was there. And let me tell you how I got fired from Collins. You had on last night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went through it, Taranika, because okay, so help us out.
Yeah, in the 8th grade, I had saw her. And some of my players had told me about her also. So she used to hang out with me.
Okay.
We used to go to AAU events and everything.
Yeah.
And so her uncle worked at the school, at college.
Okay.
So the principal accused me of enrolling her. And still today, how can I enroll a student into your school and I don't even work there?
Right. Let's know have the access to be able to do that.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's
okay.
So that's what happened. So, but to tell the truth about it, he fired me at the wrong time because all the girls was sophomores. And so I can say this: they love some Coach TJ, and so they left.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
and that was the end of Collins. To be honest with you.
Now, you said that you was okay with getting the 3s and 4s. You ain't necessarily have to have the 1s and 2s,
No.
or the A's and B's. I like numbers better than the letters or the grades.
Right.
But now, so many coaches today, TJ, are going for the 1s and upper echelon 2s, and everybody really fighting over the same kids, and in my sector, if it's to, I don't even use the word train, but if it's to, privately coach kids, work kids out, have kids come to your school, influence kids, whatever you say. But everybody going after the ones and twos.
Yep.
Not a lot of people going after the threes and fours. Less know anybody else. But you said that they were eager to learn. So that tells me that you wasn't afraid to go after the threes and fours because you was going to teach them.
Correct.
And now they were eager to learn. So can you just talk about, and it's not talking about anybody, right? But let's just help teach the coaches that are watching this, even the parents, so that they'll understand, why is going after the threes and fours just as good as going after the ones and twos? Like, I mean, do you think that they're easier to coach because they are more receptive and more eager to learn? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, they have never been the focal point of anything. It's just like boys and girls. Girls are second class. They consider themselves second class. But before you can do that, and the whole key to all of my success, Bailey, is my assistant coaches. I have been very fortunate or very smart to pick up or to choose some great assistant coaches. That has helped me develop those players, those threes and fours, to become the best that they could be. And that's where all of my success has come from. The threes and fours, everybody likes to be loved.
Absolutely. I like that.
Everybody. And, my little slang is who you going to the party with. It's not who you asking, who's going to the party with you. And you
ain't gonna be happy to go.
Exactly. Yeah. I want people to want me.
Yeah. Yep.
And I want people to be part of what we're building because, hey man, every year is a building situation.
Yeah.
You're placing pieces.
Yeah.
But every year, but you have to go after and do the best that you can with what you have.
Yeah.
As we say, coach them up.
Coach them up. Coach them up. Absolutely. And so now, as you say, Collins at that point was no more. You go over to Morgan Park. You have an amazing run at Morgan Park. You were there a few years before. You and I actually met, and you all had done some great things. How easier was it to now possibly get some ones and twos based on the perception of the school that you were now at Morgan Park?
Well, at the time that I first got there, everybody wanted to come to Morgan Park. Morgan Park was hot. And like I say, girls follow boys.
Oh, okay.
And if the boys team is good, the girls is coming. But this was in reverse. When I got to Morgan Park, the boys team wasn't all up. They was going through coaches then. And I was very fortunate and lucky that I added 2 guys to my staff. Dino is one, and then DA is the other.
My man, DA. You had Dino and DA. Hey man, that was a lively staff there.
Yes, it was. yes, it was. Dino, no. And I had a few females. As a matter of fact, Nafisha, she's one of the assistants at Simeon now.
Okay.
Her daughter plays on the team.
Okay.
And it was easy getting those players, you know. And when you have good players, they bring other good players.
Absolutely.
Because they know people, or you know, they know other girls. Or coach, why don't you talk to her?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's saying that she wants to come.
Yeah.
But you know, like I always tell everybody, it's not a 14 or 15-year-old person's decision. It's the parents' decision.
Parents. Absolutely.
So you know, the first thing that I say, hey, let me talk to your parent. I mean, what you're saying is fine, but the parent is really what counts, you know. And I just keep it real with them, man. I mean, I'm not going to tell them anything that's not going to be true.
Right.
I'm going to be honest with them.
Right.
You know, I never have, and I never will. I don't promise playing time because that's on you. That's on you working hard. You know, if you're good, you're good.
Right.
You know, just like they found Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean,
and that's a fact. If you're good, they're gonna find you. You know, a lot of people don't have the patience for that because they just want it right now. But if you're good, and as you said, you know, it's a puzzle piece. And you know, I as a college coach, former college coach, not, you know, try to let parents know that it's not about going to a particular school, but it's about finding the right fit for your baby.
Correct.
And if you don't find the right fit, you know, as you said, everybody at that point wanted to go to Morgan Park.
Yep.
But was it a good fit, you know, on either side? Was it a good fit for you, or was it a good fit for them? So, you know, as you said, now you bringing in coaches that are helping you become better. You know, you all are starting now to build this thing, build it up. And you all, you know, have a, you know, a pretty good run. When I met you, at that point, I think you all were at your height. And, you know, y'all was rolling. You know, you had some heady seniors that, you know, was able to kind of carry the load, you know, do what needed to be done. Now, for those coaches that, you know, and, you know, you had no problem with bringing up players if they were ready. But again, to go back to what you were saying about coaching, you had some players, and, you know, I remember at one point, you know, the young lady Shami, it took you a while for you to even move her up because of, you know, again, that puzzle piece. You didn't want to take away from the development that she could get at the lower level, but then was it room for her at that particular point on the higher level? So can you talk about first the importance of, because as you said, if it was with Dino, if it was with DA, if it was, you know, Andre Johnson, if it was with Draders at Kenwood, you know, like, I mean, you have an extensive coaching tree. But can you talk about the importance of having those solid coaches at your lower levels? Because I think that you've always done a great job of having solid coaches on the lower level.
Well, of course, you know, to me, that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing because when I normally get to a school and I check out who I have on the varsity and who I have at the sophomore level, I make a decision. I make a decision because, first of all, I'm going to give them a coach that I know is going to teach them. And, you know, they're going to get some skill development.
Yeah.
And I want to see, you know, they're freshmen. Majority of them, the time, they're all freshmen.
Right.
Just to see how advanced that they are. And let the coaches coach. See, I try not to interfere with my lower level coaches. I will suggest things. I'll lay out what we would like to do as a program, you
Right.
know, defensively, offensively.
Right.
But I'd never dictate that you got to run this or you got to run that.
Right.
You know, the whole key is you need to teach these kids how to play.
How to play. Yeah.
You
And that's
know,
big.
and
Teach them how to play, not what to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have been very successful in doing that. And just to name my coaches, I had Terrence Allen. He was my first sophomore coach when I got to Morgan Park, and I had met Terry. Terry and I had coached against each other.
Okay.
He had been the former head coach at Austin, the girls.
Okay.
But then we worked together at Finger.
Mm.
And then I had Coach Q. Coach Q replaced Terry.
Yeah.
And then I moved Coach Q up, and we brought in Nafisha as the sophomore coach.
Mm.
Then after that, I think that Nafisha was my last sophomore coach.
Okay.
And then coming back the last 2 years, which is just amazing. You know, my first year back, my sophomore girls, which was mostly freshmen,
Okay.
they were the runner-up in city
Mm.
in our first year back. And last year or this year, they won city. So man, we rolling.
Yeah.
You
No.
know.
And now you stated, and you know something that I mentioned frequently on this show. What you taught me, and it's kind of what you said. You know, you want your coaches to teach players how to play, not necessarily what to play. So you know, you're not teaching them. You know, within teaching them how to play, now you'll teach them how to be a point guard. You know how or what the responsibilities of a point guard, shooting
Correct.
guard, power forward, whatever, but teaching them how to play. And you are big on, and the thing that you taught me, and you know, when we used to have our breakfast club meetings in your office or my office every morning, but you taught me, it was like, Bailey, it's one thing to, you know, scout a team from what they supposed to do, right? You know, but you said make the players think for themselves. And I never forget that. You know, I'm like, TJ, what you mean? You like, because one, majority of offense is going to start on the right-hand side. And so now the coach, and this is what you told me, the coach is thinking for the players. So if you make the players think for themselves, game over. Because
you only got 5 timeouts.
So, and like, that was a golden nugget for me, and I hope that it helps somebody else out. But as you, like, so the most coaches are thinking for their athletes during the game.
Correct.
And if you take away what the coach wants them to do, and not make the athlete think for themselves, so now we take away that first pass on the right hand side, they don't know what to do. And
Correct.
so now, as you say, they got 5 timeouts. Now that get the whole ball spiraling. And as you also taught me, you was like, first half, anything goes. Like, you know, I mean, first half, it's, you know,
it's on.
It's on and popping, you know. So now you all, you know, I thought had a good 2 legitimate shots to win a state championship, your first go round at Morgan Park. You know, at that time it was a team like Montini that, you know, you had been prepping for, had known, and you know, but y'all couldn't really get past that Hillcrest team.
You know what, you're so right. And you know, let me just tell you a little story. Dino, I know you're listening. Man, one year had a great point guard. She would run through the wall for me. I mean, this girl was tough as nails. Well, we got into the state playoffs, and she jumped on the police.
Now that you say that, I ain't gonna say the name, but yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I'm just saying. So I mean, and we lost in the sectional championship.
Yeah.
Lost to them twice in the sectional championship.
Yeah.
Always something happened at that end.
Now, 1 year it was at Hillcrest.
Correct.
Right, which I think was the second
2
year.
years it was at Hillcrest, actually.
Was it? Okay. I thought y'all played them in like Kankakee or Bourbonnais.
1 year we did, yeah.
One year. Okay. Yep. And so now this goes back to having a relationship with, the administrators. You get new administrators come in and things happen. And at that particular time, TJ, you were the I don't even remember the title, but you basically was in control of all of the everything at Orr during that time. And Orr had got switched over. You were the director of operations, and
Correct.
so you were my supervisor, dean of students, and you helped me out and you taught me a lot. But it was kind of like we were the disciplinarians, but you wore so many hats because you were over, security, other things. You had so many responsibilities, and so that's why I say like you were, made things run. And we were there with Principal Sims, and she ran a great ship. But in terms of if it's the engineers, all the things that people didn't see, you were responsible for that. But you were also the AD at Morgan Park during that time when y'all had that run. But now you get new administration come in and things don't work, and so you leave Morgan Park, or as you say, you got fired from Morgan Park at that particular time. And I remember that phone call. You're like, Bailey, I just got fired. I'm like, what? Like, we went through all that. But the one thing that I will say, if you do this thing long enough, TJ, you're going to have some separation from programs, teams, families, players. If it's your decision or theirs, there is going to be separation. So if you do it long enough, you're going to quit some jobs, you're going to get asked to leave some jobs, or you're going to say, so that it don't be on my record, we're going to just part ways. Right. So now you part ways, and now you go to South Shore International at this point, right? Not necessarily South Shore that people know, as you say, it was Hyde Park High School, not Hyde Park Career Academy, right? But now you go to South Shore International. They had just built a new school, and on the corner, and looks great. And now you have students that need a certain score to get in the building.
Selective enrollment.
Right. So now we're in the world of selective enrollment, where even though Morgan Park and they have the the 7th and 8th grade program and those things, and just traditionally good academic school, but now because South Shore is shifting and making that change, now it's selective enrollment. It's not just a neighborhood school. So how difficult was that, TJ, for you to shift, and now you have to get students first, and not that your athletes was not student athletes, but it's almost like if you're at a Division III school or the Ivy League school, you're really getting students, but also people that enjoy to play basketball. Does that make sense? So like how was that? Or I personally know how it is because I was right there in the mix with you, but if you could just share, how was that now dealing with a selective enrollment and knowing that you got to have a certain type of individual to even bring into the school, And now once you get them into school, as you said, you can teach the game, especially if they want to play. But how was that transition?
Well, first of all, it was rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fortunate that there were some players there when I first got there. So we were rolling our first 2 years. The first year that I came, the coach prior to me had won all of the conference games, and I came and finished up. You can say I came. Well, I actually did come in January.
Yeah.
So I finished up the season and took them to the playoffs and took them to state. The following season, we moved into the red. So now we're in the same conference as Morgan Park. We finished third in the conference. And we won our first regional in state. The third year, we do the same thing. We finished third, and we win our region. Then the cupboard got bare.
Went bare.
And I mean, if you transfer, to get a transfer, you have to have damn near a 4.0. Really, realistically, a 3.5 to transfer in.
Yeah.
And my AD used to ride me all the time, talking about, TJ, you need to bring in some dogs. And I try to be as honest as I can. I don't know too many dogs with a 3.5.
Right. It's a different type of individual.
Correct. I mean, and so, we was out trying to influence kids to come, but we were the new kids on the block. I'm talking about selective enrollment.
Yeah.
All the selective enrollment kids wanted to either go to Whitney Young, Jones, and then there was quite a few that wanted to go to Brooks.
Yeah.
And then there was a few to go to King. So we're competing with all of them, and don't even mention Morgan Park and Simeon, who's got dogs.
Yeah.
They don't have no 3.5.
Right.
And it's just rough.
But you was actually competing against tradition at that point, like with all these other schools. Tradition, and if people not necessarily understand that they're going to get the same education in terms of basketball, if not more, with you than some of these other places, but they'll also get a tremendous academic education, but and oftentimes it's hard to express that and hard to, explain that to just.
The problem was, and it's the same thing, without a doubt, it had to be, and I know it was, with Western House, King, and South Shore.
Yeah.
It was the old schools.
Right.
Everybody still thought the South Shore International was the old South Shore.
Was the old South Shore, yeah.
And everybody thought the Western House was the old Western House.
Yeah.
Same as King. And that's where it was identity problem.
I like that.
That everybody went back and said, man, South Shore. And, you constantly got to say, hey, man, this ain't the same South Shore.
Right.
They're about academics. They're not just about athletics anymore.
Right.
And that's a hard sell.
It is.
Because I don't care what anybody say, Bailey. They want to win.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Bottom line.
Absolutely. And, you all did that for a minute. I mean, you all were able to win a regional and a sectional?
Yeah.
At South Shore?
Yeah.
And, sent, girls, to school, and, as you said, had a couple good runs. But it was something that you had mentioned, or you didn't mention it. I want to talk about it. So it was actually a point in which you was not coaching for half a year. I mean, it was really one of the first times that in a long time, as you told me, like I ain't got nothing to do. I mean, it was days where, when it's time to go, you like, hey, I might hang around with you here for a minute, Bailey, while, finish this paperwork because I ain't got no practice to go to. You know what I mean? We would laugh about it and things. And, but then come January, you like, hey, man, I've been offered this job, we like how and in the middle of the year and you're like, hey, well, some things happen and but you took a lot of flack for that, TJ, because for people, and I think the people that understood your character knew who you were, and again, you from the old school with, as I said, with Coach Redmond, with Coach Pittman, with Coach Cox, and like all of those guys, so you all stood for different things at that point. And I think that your character was tested, as well as it was being tainted a little bit, or people was kind of pooping on it, people that may not know you because they felt as though you wasn't a stand-up guy, for lack of better words, and you went behind somebody's back to help get somebody else lose their job so that now you can get their job. But I thought that the way that you handled it was in a professional manner. You came in, was about the kids. You didn't come in with an iron hand. You didn't come in with an iron fist, and you kind of let things play out. And it was a little difficult, but you was able to maintain and push throughout all the pushback. Can you talk about that without I don't want you to get into the specifics, but how did you keep your composure and keep your mind on the job that had to be done at hand?
Okay, well, let me tell you how it all started. I was at an AD's meeting at Malcolm X.
And
Coach,
what up?
And I was in the parking lot.
And I was at Malcolm X at that time, I think. That
right,
was
and I ran into South Shore's AD. So he was telling me how a great job that I did at Morgan Park and everything. And I had to let him know. I said, Coach, I don't coach there no more.
Right.
So he said, well, we need to talk. So I said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, I really didn't think much about it. So September, he called me and he asked me, was I willing to coach again? So I said, yeah. So didn't hear anything from him until right after Christmas. So he said, I need you to come to the school and meet with the principal. So I came, and so it was actually an interview.
Yeah.
So I interviewed with the principal. At the end of the meeting, the principal named me the coach. So, of course, it had been rumored that I was in the building. I saw all of the players like at the front door, waiting.
Yeah.
And I was still being professional and walked out. And before I could get to my truck, I was getting phone calls.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from the previous coach. And we were friends. And, I tried to explain to him I didn't hire myself.
Right.
But I guess some people don't understand that. So I know I'm behind the 8 balls because, first of all, they don't know me.
Yeah.
And second of all, they don't know who I am. They only know what they've
heard. Yeah.
about me.
Yeah.
So of course I go in there, real cool. I have my agenda.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do to become successful.
Yeah.
So actually one of the girls transferred. She wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. And nothing you can do about that.
Right.
Except I had talked to the parent, and the parent didn't tell me the truth.
Right.
But I still moved on, and never mentioned the other coach. Because that's one thing you don't do as a coach. Talk about you ain't Joe Blow or whoever.
Right. Right.
Because I'm my own person. So
That's a great point.
I got to build a relationship with every one of them.
Yeah.
Like they got to build a relationship with me.
True. Yeah.
And it worked out at the very end. The girls were successful. The better girls did get scholarships. One to a D1, one to a D1 NAIA school. So they had great careers. Have all of them graduated and doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
They turned out to be a good group. They really worked hard, and did the very best that they could. And as a coach, I tried to give them everything that I had.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, I just wanted you to explain that because, oftentimes people can lose sight of the ultimate goal. And like you said, that ultimate goal is, to help those that need help. And so, I
Correct.
mean, if you coming in, it's in the middle of the year now, they need help if they know it or if they don't,
Exactly.
so how can we make this a win-win? How can we make this work? How can we build on it? You got some pushback, but you stayed focused, stayed with it, despite all the white noise that you were getting. I remember the first couple of days, again, we, and or your phone just blowing up, and at that time we got 500-600 kids, and hey, or is or,
Yeah, they off the chain.
and but it's like, man, teacher, your phone just kept ringing, and you just kind of kept playing the story over and over again until at one point, I think me, Coach Andre Johnson and Coach Lou was like, TJ, man, like, just like, stop. You don't owe nobody an explanation. I mean, it is what it is at this point, because you're doing more explaining than able to focus on what needs to be done at hand. Because again, it's January, so now you're in conference, and
Yep.
and so you don't have time to not make the most of your time, if that makes sense. And so the thing that helped is going back to the professional development, and this is something that I know that you're big on, and if you can help again, the coaches that's watching, but you were taught the things of football, and you are football, was a football coach as well, played football in college, but you were taught football by a football coach that had more experience than you. And so in all of your professional development, you have no point, or you have no problem with helping teaching. I remember the first day when I got to Orr, and Principal Sims had, breakfast for us, and we, and all, sitting down. And I remember you and Lou, I was sitting by myself, and you and Lou, had came and sat down by me, had already knew you, didn't really know, you. And I asked the question, I said, man, I want to know, and I don't even know if you remember this question or that day, but I said, man, can y'all tell me, I said, how come public league coaches don't want to send their players to city colleges? And you kind of gave me an education, behind it, and which hopefully is a little bit better now. But again, when you think of can you get a quality education? and or the violence, but one thing that you said to me was oftentimes it's not personal, and it made me think about it in a different way. So oftentimes it's not personal, but you got to understand that if a kid has spent 17, 18 years of their life here, why wouldn't they want to go someplace else, at least for a little while, and be able to experience something else? And just that answer made me understand that it's not always personal, as you said, it was never about you. If it's Washington, Collins, Prosser, Morgan Park, South Shore, it's never been about you, but it was like, okay, that makes sense. So it's not that, okay, we don't want them to go here because don't want them to get a good education. And my thing was they always wind back here anyway. Correct. And so, but you was like, well, if they want to, if they're thinking in their mind, all goes back to the athlete thinking for themselves. In their mind, if they want to get out, but it may not be a right fit. The right fit might be here at home, but their mentality is to get out. And so it's kind of the same way, at South Shore, like their mentality was, okay, we've had this system and had this coach, and here comes somebody else is coming in, and yeah, he's decorated and he's established, but if we don't want to deal with it, we don't want to deal with it. But can you talk about, because we had our breakfast club meetings every morning, me, you, Lou, and Andre, and we just talk basketball. And the one thing that we figured out through sharing, which is what I want you to really talk about, what we understood through communicating and sharing with each other, just the normal course of the day, what happened from start of practice to the end of practice, start of the game to the end of games. We was all sitting down one day and Lou started laughing and was like, TJ, was you at my practice? and you was like, no, man, I was over on 100, 111, 112. And he was like, man, it sounded like you was at my practice, but we understood that day that we dealing with the same thing.
Same problem. We got the same kids.
We got the same kids, but we wouldn't have known if we wasn't sharing information. So can you talk about that? Because I know that's a pet peeve of yours, for coaches to not want to share, not want to help each other out. So can you talk about why coaches should share, the importance of sharing, giving back, all of that? Because and I tell coaches all the time, we dealing with the same kid, same generation. It don't matter if you in Texas, Florida, California, we're in each other practices because we've heard the same things over and over again.
Yeah. And the part, that gets me is that as coaches, some of us think that we have a monopoly on something.
Yeah.
And nobody does. Hey, man, who in America don't run a 2-3? Who in America don't run a man-to-man?
Right.
Who don't run a 1-2-2, a 2-2-1, a 1-3-1? Who don't run that?
Yeah.
Boys or girls.
Yeah.
And some young, especially, the young coaches, man, they need to have a mentor.
Yeah.
I mean, we were saying earlier, hey, man, I think, and that's what I've tried to do in my life, is to help people. And I know that I have given a lot of coaches opportunity because that's what somebody gave me.
Absolutely.
Was an opportunity.
Yeah.
And of course, I don't hold that over the head. It makes me proud that I can name off different people that I know that I have shared or helped them in so many ways. And if they become better than I am or have better teams than I am, I'm happy. But sharing is the most important thing as coaches, especially coaches here in the city suburb. I mean, it ain't nothing that you could tell us that I probably don't know already.
Right.
Or you could tell me, or you might be able to give me a drill.
Yeah.
You know, like I was telling you earlier, Bailey, I was listening to, I've been participating on a couple of Zooms with some college coaches and some high school coaches.
Yeah.
Man. And I stayed muted, but I was writing down everything that they were saying.
Yeah.
And I took those ideals and I'm utilizing, putting them into my program. You know, like I thought of it, but I tell my coaches, I say, hey man, no, I got this from this coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, just like now, man, all the coaches, you know, y'all say we friends and stuff. We should be on Zoom sharing with each other.
Building. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, because the bottom line is getting the girl or the boy to the next level.
Yeah.
Then you've done your job.
You've done your job. But see, it's oftentimes cool as long as you're not better than me. Or it's oftentimes cool if you're not winning more than me.
Right. But you know, that's that old Joneses stuff.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, that's really what that is. You know, so you might have better athletes than I do.
That particular year, yeah.
You know, you might just have it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you have to share, man. I mean, I'm not saying give up your trade secret. I didn't say that.
Right.
But you can share some of your favorite drills, man. What is the drill gonna hurt? You sharing it with another coach.
Yeah. But it goes back to them relationships too, you know, having, and as you said earlier, you know, for those that might have missed it, you know, you need to have a relationship with your players, your coaches, your administrators, your parents, the opposing coaches, and the referees. And so now if you got that relationship, you should be able to talk. And so that's how, like, and you know, and we wind up coining it the Breakfast Club because we just found ourselves every morning, the first hour and a half, and while working, you know, referrals coming in, all that. But we're working, and again, we're applying the things that is happening on the court to life. And so even, you know, the kids that was coming in dealing with whatever discipline based on what might have happened in one of our practices, we could explain that to a kid. And oftentimes they would be in there listening to us, and they was probably getting more education from that practical information. Like, okay, that makes sense, you know, or would laugh when, you know, when we said something, as you said, if it's changing drills, you know, exchanging ideas, just different information, we were all able to learn from one another because the ultimate goal is to help each kid that we come in contact with. Well, if you coming in contact at Morgan Park with a different kid that I'm coming in contact with at Malcolm X at that particular time, but I want you to help the kids that you dealing with, and you want me to help the kids that I'm dealing with. But now I don't want to get controversial because that ain't what this is about.
Correct.
But you also told me something. You was like, it ain't about the kids in a lot of people's mind, you know, and, you know, even with, you know, education, it's like, is it about the kids? And, you know, you told me when you was like, Bailey, it's been so far past that for a long time. It ain't been about the kids for a long time in terms of with education. So like, can you break that down? Because I don't want people to think that, you know, like when you say it ain't about the kids, but going back to your principal point, you want to help those that need help. So can you make that make sense?
Right. Well, okay. See, first of all, and this is just me. This is just me. And I got to use CPS because I work for them.
Yep.
But even back when I was in high school, I figured it out. I figured that it's not enough emphasis on teaching kids. The emphasis has always been, always will be, it's a business.
Mm.
So if it's a business, it's about the money.
Mm-hmm.
And, because if it was about education, parents and the teachers would be working hand in hand.
Should be.
To better their student.
Yeah.
Instead of, mama, Mr. Johnson don't like me.
Yeah.
So that's why he gave me that F.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with liking or disliking.
Right.
But what have you done?
Right.
What did you do to earn that F?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
equals nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and you was with me. And it's a shame. A kid could come home with straight Fs. And if one of us slip and use a profanity word against that kid, how fast did you see that parent?
Yeah. Profanity, or if they say you took their phone.
Right.
They up there.
But what about that them Fs?
Yeah.
That's a norm.
Yeah.
So it's about who's really caring about the kids.
Yeah.
Do the teachers really care that they learn a lesson? Some do, some don't.
Absolutely.
The old saying, man, you can come to class and just write your name and you can get a D. But
right.
What has the student learned?
What have they learned from it? Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point because, as you said, is, emphasis on teaching the kid. And if we teaching the kid, then everybody should be willing to work together, the parent, the student, and the teacher, as opposed to oftentimes the parents and the staff are butting heads, so the kid is getting left behind, and oftentimes the only time when the parent is communicated to, and this is a whole nother issue, but when I, with our character development program and social emotional learning, what I attempt to let principals know, like, we're the go-between, because, and I used to do it as a dean too, if I'm calling you all the time about your baby getting in trouble, I may just pop up one day and call you to say, hey, they having a good day. Because if as a parent, and if their mentality already is, they come to the school, what you do to my kid, not so much what did my kid do, but that mentality is built up because every time that there's communication between the school and the parent, it's nothing positive.
Correct.
So now I'm already developing my personal feelings for the school or for the system, because it seems as though it's being conducted as a business and not as a means to get them where they need to be. As a parent, if I'm not involved, does that make sense? So, like, how can you get my kid where they need to be if you're not involved with me? And I know that you understand. You don't want everybody else to understand it. But every time, if I'm getting a call, if it's negative, or you're telling me what my kid not doing, or what needs to happen, well, I'm really not receptive to come up there. And as you said, now you curse or that phone, I'm coming up there and I'm ready to get it in. And so, we learned a lot. We dealt with a lot at OR, and you still at OR, and still the director of operations, to serve as the dean also, and but you're the athletic director, and you have been an athletic director at OR for a long time, and a lot of people don't understand that. Like, you were behind the scenes at OR for a long time, and me and Lou laugh all the time. And I say, Lou, people don't understand. Like, I was a team consultant for y'all for 2 years. When you first went down, so he'd be like, yeah, babe, a lot of people don't know that. Like, you helped us a lot. And it goes back to that sharing, right? Because we built them relationships, but you all have been able to do, and I don't know if Coach Phil is still on or not, but, as you said, the assistant coaches like head coaches are only as good as their assistant coaches, and Coach Field has done an amazing job there. With Coach Lou and the rest of the staff, Coach Carlos and all them. But you all have been able to run off. Well, let me just say, during your time as the AD, Orr's been downstate, I believe 6 times now.
No, yeah, six.
Orr's been down 6 times now. Been downstate. They've won 3 in a row. Didn't get an opportunity because with the whole coronavirus and COVID-19, all of that, didn't get a chance to play. And I know that Lou talked about in the paper, Coach Adams, about just the feeling that he got, those kids not being able to defend what they had and not have that opportunity again. But as the athletic director, because oftentimes the athletic directors get left out. Everybody worrying about the star players, or they worrying about the coaches, but not understanding the things that the ADs have to do to make all these things work. Getting buses, referees, getting checks. And I've seen you in the midst of all this, and to the point to where I kind of help serve as like the assistant AD for a minute. If it's, you was delegating things to me that you needed help with, to be able to get it done. But how have you been able to help maintain a championship culture? Because I always talk, it's different having a winning culture and having a championship culture. And championship culture, they just do things differently. And for those that don't know, or it's in one of those communities where it's violent, it's drugs, and the best thing happening in that community is Orr.
Correct.
And so, like, how have you been able, with Coach Adams, with Principal Andrews, or even with Principal Sims at the time, how was you able to maintain? And like you said, coach at Prosser, he don't want you talking to no coaches, right? That ego. How have you been able to, as an administrator? Because you said the coaches got to build relationships with the administrators. So for the coach that's listening, how have you been able to help manage a championship culture, and how can other coaches kind of help their ADs develop what they want so that they can create a championship culture?
Well, first of all, most coaches don't build a relationship with the AD. They don't.
Okay.
And then some coaches want to tell the AD what their job is. And maybe my experience has helped me in knowing how to deal with people and talk to people and associate with people through coaching. Like I said, I've coached quite a few sports for many years. And I try hard to treat people the way that I want to be treated. And with me, if you give me what I need, I'm willing to help you to the moon.
Okay.
And not only that, and I have to tell some coaches this, we're on the same team.
Right.
So you don't need to try to keep secrets from me.
Right.
Because the bottom line, you're going to really need me at the end.
Yeah.
So just be upfront, with the administrator. Hey, anybody can take a slap on the hand. I've taken a slap on the hand being the AD.
Yeah.
Ain't none of it's been my fault. But I took the hand slap and I moved on.
Right.
But you have to, it's all about relationships. It just is. And and I have to say though, my last 2 principals, Principal Sims and Principal Andrews, have been great to work with because they respect my knowledge of sports.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a great rapport with the IHSA and sports administration.
Yeah.
And we have never really had any problem. I mean,
and
relationships.
Right, relationships, and as you say, the relationship with the IHSA, and I know, it the way that God works is, you have a reason, to go downstate, because you go downstate to the, to the downstate meeting, once a year, right, to the big meeting, but it falls around the time that the basketball team is there. So, you kind of able to do, both at one time.
Right.
But, you are involved in things other than just the school that you're at or just like Chicago Public League. You're involved in the whole process of how things operate in the state. And I think that that's huge because, again, that talks about your character, right? That talks about, who you are and people, able to really help you get through all that. Now, you are 2 times over, Illinois Basketball Coaches Association, as well as Chicago Public League Coaches, Association. You're in both of those Hall of Fames. When you really look back over your career, how does that make you feel? Just knowing like, damn, I was voted into the Hall of Fame really by my peers.
Well, to be honest with you, it's definitely an honor. It's definitely an honor. Because I didn't get into coaching to get into the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
I got it. I'm in the coaching, and I got into coaching is to help kids to better themselves, because I think what I'm teaching is life lesson.
Absolutely.
And of course, my biggest thing is, it is what it is discipline.
Right.
You have to be right.
Got to be.
You have to be right. Then, kids like to say, stop talking to me. Well, if I stop talking to you, you might as well go on home because it's over.
Because it's over at that point.
Right. Because
so for the parent that may not understand that, right? The coach, the athlete come home, man, the coach tripping. Coach always saying something. Coach, but can you understand, help the parent understand what you mean by if you ain't talking, it's over?
Well, first of all, every time I talk to a student or a child,
man stub.
I'm laughing at Stub.
That's why I say your man Stub.
Yeah. Is that I'm trying to teach them life lessons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to tell them anything wrong because I don't want anybody telling my kids anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I truly believe in karma.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to mistreat you, but like I say, and Bailey, and I understand this. I've always understand this. Every parent want their baby to play 38 minutes. And we only play 32. I understand that too. I mean, I do. So, but the way it goes, it's not how many minutes I give them. It's the minutes that they perform.
Yeah.
Are they performing in all those minutes?
Absolutely.
If they're performing in all those minutes, hey, that's good. But if they're not, and somebody's doing a better job, you have to respect that. But but as some parents, they just don't understand that. Some parents can't understand that their kid is not as great as they think they are.
Absolutely. And it goes to your point, like you talk about coaches, about being able to share information. And that just goes for people in general, right? If you can help somebody, help somebody. But if you have something that you can help somebody with and you don't, now you're being selfish. So if I'm not performing and performing at a high level that can help the team, then at some point I may be hindering the team. So now if I'm upset because coach taking me out, I'm being selfish to the rest of the team. And now I'm not sharing myself or the minutes if it's about us as opposed to about me.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing is team building.
Yeah.
That it's not just two people. This team ain't about just two people.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell a lot of parents. Hey, it's not just about your baby. It's about all 12 of your babies.
Right. Yeah.
I know you got a special feeling for yours, but I got to have that special feeling for all 12 because I want to treat all of them the same.
Yeah.
And see, another thing the coaches do, which is really wrong, and like I said, this is part of me. Treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Yeah.
They embarrass kids.
Talk about that, TJ.
So think about this. If you embarrass a kid, that same kid is going to embarrass you at the wrong time. Your principal going to be standing there, and that kid going to go in on you.
Yeah. You got to, hell of a point.
So you can't mistreat kids, man. I mean, you just can't.
Yeah. And that goes back to, as you said earlier, about asking people to do things as opposed to telling them what to do, because now, as you said, to where now if they're embarrassing kids, not only are they telling them what to do, but they telling them in a certain manner, or they're degrading them maybe because they can't. And in all actuality, what you want them to do is probably not clear to them.
Correct.
So now they confused and they're not doing what you need them to do. And now you just pouring gas to the fire because now you're embarrassing them, or, making them seem, a certain way. Now your youngest daughter, she's an athlete now. How does that make you feel, man? Just like being able to watch her just develop into because I mean at a certain point she wasn't even playing, but
just watching. You're looking for growth.
Yeah.
You're looking for growth. You don't want to be a pusher, man. Everyone learns different.
Yeah.
And all you can do is to give everybody that opportunity. And then it's left up to them to accept it or not.
Give them that opportunity without promising them. Really, the only thing you can promise is that they will get an opportunity.
Correct. That's it. There's no guarantees. I mean, and what I actually push with all the kids, man, is about education, because everybody is not going to go to the next level. Let's just face facts. Everybody is not.
Right.
So what's going to be your escape? So if it's not all academics,
what is it going to be right now? And that's a great segue as we winding down. But you talked about how players left, transferred schools, because they didn't like what was done to you. You know, you left a school because you didn't like what was done to a particular kid. So it's all about doing right by people. And as you said earlier, you got to be right, right? You know, if you right, then you can help make things right. But in that whole point about you being right, you know, you've left a job because, you know, the way that they treated, you know, kids. Students left school because of the way that you were treated. It was other people that left you because they didn't like the situation. You know, we talked about with South Shore, but you've also let people leave. And I don't want to use the word let, but you've kind of sat down and had meaningful conversations with people and parents that were wavering, and you didn't try to hold them back to be with you if you knew that it could possibly be better for them on the other side. You know, so can you talk about just not, you know, you've never been a person to where, you know, you're gonna stronghold a player to stay with you. You know, and almost, you know, the way you're gonna help educate them or educate the parent. Okay, you know, if you go here, you know, these are the benefits. You know, this is, you know, maybe what you won't get, but you haven't been. And it goes back to sharing too, really, TJ.
Right.
You haven't been one to be like, okay, well, if you don't want to be here, then let's not even talk unless that parent is there mentally. But
Right.
you know, and I don't want to talk, you know, talk about, you know, throw names out there, but I do remember at a certain point, you know, it was a young lady named Marsha, right? That had a great,
Mm-hmm.
career, great college career. And, you know, things were shaping up. And if you keep Marsha, that second year, y'all win state without a doubt. You beat Hillcrest in Hillcrest, y'all win state.
Yep.
But you didn't try to tie her mother's hands, and you kind of, you know, were receptive to whatever they felt that the situation was and was better. So can you talk about that, just, you know,
Yeah.
and you kind of mentioned it, just helping the person and being a good person, being there for the person. But every coach don't do that, TJ. And I want you, you know, as a more seasoned coach, Hall of Fame coach, it's certain things that you have to do. As you said, karma, you know, you just got to do right by people.
Yep.
You know, so can you just talk about that? Because again, I mean, if y'all have Marshall, y'all win state.
Oh, okay. And I'm going to talk about in my career, I can remember 3 people that transferred from me.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 people could have helped to make the team better to win state or whatever.
Yeah.
So when the first 2 girls left, first time anybody had left me.
Mm.
So it was kind of like hurting,
Yeah.
you know. But the thing I think about is that I want you to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I want you to be happy.
Yeah.
So if what we're doing is not making you happy, you should move on.
Mm-hmm.
And with Marsha, Marsha could have helped us tremendously,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. It hurt at the time, but once again, I want you to be happy.
Right.
Now, all 3 of those girls that left, we have great rapport.
Mm.
Because out of the respect that I had for them and the respect they had for me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no ill feeling. I mean, you know, Same way that I tell my boys coaches, hey man, if a boy want to transfer, let him go.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want nobody that don't want you.
Right.
And you can't force nobody to stay with you.
Right.
So, hey man, anybody want to transfer out of war, I sign off immediately. I ain't holding them back, man. I want them to be happy, but there's coaches out here though that will hold up paperwork purposely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is wrong, but hey, I don't live with them.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And now, going in and you got back to Morgan Park, as you said, y'all runner up, the lower level, and then one city. How does Morgan Park look in the future? Coming up with and I'm thinking great with that lower level coming back, returning, oftentimes, and you mentioned it, I've never really heard it like that, but as you said, like, women get treated like second class citizens, a lot of times. And, but, everybody, when they think of Morgan Park, now, they talk about the boys program, and, the boys have done a tremendous job, there with that program, and, Coach Irvin, and, has done a great job, and now, leaving, but the women program, is good too. So as a women's coach, can you explain to the listeners, to the people that's watching, the people that will see this, any and all places that is streamed, why should people really start paying attention to girls basketball or women's basketball?
Well, first of all, and the thing that I like about coaching girls is, number one, they want to learn.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
Number two, the majority of them do not play above the rim. So that means that they are more fundamentally sound. Yes, some of them are very robotic until they get a handle of it. But they actually play a better game than the boys. And I'm just going to come out and say it first. Hey, I very seldom watch any NBA games.
Yeah.
Because NBA is entertainment.
It's all entertainment. Yeah.
And I watch a lot of college men and college women, because they don't get paid above the table. Okay, so they're amateurs.
Yeah.
But they're playing to go to the next step.
Right.
And so now they know fundamentals, because my thing has always been, and it's just the truth. See, we don't do elementary school justice. Like a coach said, I was on the Zoom. Coach said, "Hey, if a elementary school girl come to high school as a freshman and she doesn't know how to dribble with both hands, that's a shame."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a shame.
Somebody has failed them along the way. And as you said earlier, they probably have more gym teachers than physical education teachers.
Correct. Correct. Without a doubt. And I'm just saying, so if we need to do a better job down at the elementary school level, and a better job at the high school level to get them ready for, since everybody think it's D1, so they can get to D1. But if you look at statistics wise, you can see it's not a lot of girls or boys going D1.
Absolutely. Or
So
they go D1 on the boys' side, they're in the transfer portal after a year.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, and girls stay for 4 years
Yeah.
and they get an education.
So that's a certain loyalty too, TJ. Wouldn't you agree?
It is very
Okay.
loyal,
Yeah.
very loyal.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not knocking on them because I think they play great when they do play, but they don't go to Kentucky for 1 year
Right.
and then go to the NBA. I mean, they normally stay to 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Getting that full development.
Correct.
Yeah. No, that's big, because I mean, one, as you said, girls athletes want to learn. They're fundamentally sound, which means that they're paying attention a little bit more too. Oftentimes on the boys' side, the men's side, because they're athletic, it's like, well, I'm doing what everybody want me to do, right? I can dunk, do one of these moves, but I don't really have to pay attention, But then also on the flip side, and we understand that, again, we understood, one of our running jokes was it should be called OBA, right? At that particular time, you said it should be OBA or Boys Academy because the girls was off the chain, and so we understand that the young ladies have they hold on to things longer. I mean, we had many meetings, in my big office full of parents, and that goes back to what you were saying about education, right? We were involving the parent and the kid. I mean, sometimes we had no other choice.
Correct.
Because if your baby want to be here, you got to be here too, so that we can get all this worked out. But I think that it goes back to your point too, to where young ladies want to learn. I mean, and you and I talk about all the time. Is no student, no youth that don't really want structure.
Correct.
Most students, most youth want structure, but it goes back to what you were saying. How are we talking to them? Are we asking questions so that we can develop that relationship?
Yep.
Or are we talking to them? And when we come into schools with our program, the first thing that I let our students know, I said, I'm not here to give you what I think you need, right? Because I think that you need this. Conversing with the principal, conversing with the teachers, administrators, they say, okay, you're gonna be working with this group or this group. This is the issue that they may have. But our job as coaches, as teachers, administrators, whoever, we have, even as parents, TJ, we have to be able to give the other individual what they need, not what we think they need. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
But we can't do that until we are able to ask questions, like you said, you from going to with your mom when you used to clean the houses, asking those questions, but then it's building that relationship to be able to ask why. Because then, as you said, for those people that maybe just joining us, when you ask why as opposed to what, how, when, where, you're gonna get the truth. And if you're not ready for the truth, so now taking that back to basketball, if your student is asking you, okay, how do we make a left-hand layup? Why ain't it going in? And for those people that know you, TJ halftime speeches are, could probably be bottled up and sold, right?
Yeah,
because, like, again, picture a winner, but you understand what needs to be done based on your personnel. Because as you said, every parent wants their baby to be the one, but you got to take care of everybody's baby.
Yep.
So you got to know who you're dealing with and how you can talk to them, and if it's what buttons to push, what ways to get them motivated. So I think that that's just a great point of the young ladies really pay more attention to what's being said that can benefit them, as opposed to the guys be like, man, hey, just pass me the ball, or just let hey, as long as I get a C in class. But the young ladies may get offended if they get a C.
Yeah, they're striving. They're striving academically, man. Now you can find a few. Now don't get me wrong. It's not a perfect world. There's always a few that okay, you're right. Boogity boogity.
Got a boogity boogity, baby. He already know. You gotta get up and down.
Not everybody is like that, but the majority of them, 3/4 of these young ladies, man, want something out of life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They want something out of life.
Yeah.
All of them don't have a perfect life. Their parent didn't have a perfect life.
Yeah.
And with us, we want our kids to have a better life than what we had.
We did. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean.
And, that's a good segue, because oftentimes, and a lot of people don't know, but you are a professional photographer, and, TJ Flicks, and, you got, you on Flickr, and, a lot of different things. And, I remember when, I think when first started, I'm like, damn, TJ, you take pictures too. And, but you take that craft just as serious as coaching. But to your point, as you said with the young ladies, they want to be something.
Yep.
You bring out something in people when you get behind that camera. And it's just, and I know Tony, is on or was on, but and even with basketball players, or you've done it for prom, it's like you're not Mr. Johnson really at this point, because you're setting them up, tilt your face this way, look up. And so, again, the title of today's episode is Picture a Winner, right? Well, you've shown that whatever environment that you've been in, you have been a winner consistently. But the whole picture, it was a play on words, because you are a professional photographer. But as I said, because the impression, which is a lot of times what pictures are, right? That impression that you leave on people, because you are a winner, they remember you. But I've seen you take frowns and literally turn them into smiles after the process.
Right.
And so here's what I mean. People think trust the process. That sounds good, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the process takes time. And as a photographer, not only the setup and the cleanup, but everything throughout that process. And so if it's retail, management that you were in when you first started, if it's education, if it's now, coaching as well as photography, but you're now getting people to do things that you would like for them to do for their benefit, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Now, once you got the eyes together, whatever, you make that picture, a picture worth 1,000 words. So they're able to get that prom picture, that graduation picture, that senior basketball picture, wedding picture. You came over, to our house a few years ago, took family pictures. We still got those, but just to, it lasts a lifetime. But I've seen you take a camera and totally change somebody's perspective of how they felt about themselves. So, like, how does that make you feel, TJ? Like from that standpoint, being able to take a ball and help people to develop, but also, being able to take your mind, help them develop. But now you're able to take this tool and help somebody become a whole different person.
Well, I have, I guess you can say, two.
Principal right there, Principal Andrews.
Yes, it is. And that's so true, Doc.
Yeah.
Well, like Doc said, I want to be good.
Yeah.
In everything that I do.
Yeah.
I want to be
Absolutely.
a great coach.
Yeah.
I want to be a great photographer.
Yeah.
And in doing both of those, I have to study.
Yeah. I like that.
And when I study, then I can teach.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like just like in photography, it's one thing that I don't do a lot of, but I tell all of my models it makes them a different person when they smile.
Absolutely.
When they smile, you can see their inner beauty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I know my expression is kind of like closed. I'm a mean dude, you know, but uh, I think a lot, and you know, and thinking a lot and observing a lot. You don't need to talk. You ain't got to smile
Right.
to be learning, and that's what I do. And so, some people have the wrong impression about me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is it's fine. That's everybody's opinion. You know, I have different opinions about people too, and it might not be true, but whatever I do, I work very hard at it because I want to be very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's an old saying that I learned in business. Just what I do now, but it like learn, do, teach. And kind of in that order. Learn it, do it, and not teach it. But it goes back to what you were saying, sharing, right? Because
Sure, you got to.
teaching is nothing but sharing, right? Sharing the information that you have that can help somebody else. So, and I mean, you're an amazing photographer, like you say. You study your craft. For those people though, TJ, that didn't know that, oh man, TJ does pictures too. I'm looking for a photographer. If it's now or once outside opens back up, things get
Right.
back to um, a new sense of normalcy. How can people like follow or catch your photography work?
Well, my main site is Flickr,
Okay.
and my name on Flickr is TJ Flicks, all one word.
Okay.
And or you can go tjflicks.com and you can find me also.
Okay. Oh, you got the website popping off, TJ, now,
Yeah,
huh?
gotta get better.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely got to get better. So TJ Flicks on Flickr or
Yep.
tjflicks.com. Yeah, go and now on the website, if people want to contact you or if they want to book you for events, I know again you do proms, graduations, weddings,
Party.
parties, baby showers, the whole nine. If they want to like book you and can they contact you or book you on the site as well?
Yeah, and I'll give them my phone number too.
Okay, well, no, we don't want you to get your phone number, TJ. I don't let people get their phone numbers. Just
Okay.
privacy, man. Again, that South Shore thing, I knew how your phone was blowing up. So, and I mean,
Maybe I'll blow up.
yeah. So, I mean, again, the purpose of this show, a professional and personal development show, for those people that didn't know, and as Dino said, there's a lot of things about you that he didn't know from listening to this interview. Hopefully, people taking notes. I always say, I always take notes. I got 4 pages of things that you've been talking about, and I always learn from you. And that's why I said earlier, dealing with you, sometimes I let you go because I know that, what you've taught me sometimes is like, just listen, like listen and pay attention. And, you may not say it that way, in your own right, Bailey, just, and it's like, okay, let me just sit back and learn. Because again, if you sharing, I should be willing to learn because you don't have to be sharing, if that makes sense.
Correct.
So yeah, no, so I definitely, man, appreciate your time in here. But before we go, so I want to touch on two things real quick. Chicago Public League had a coaches development online. Can you talk about that? And I know that you said like a lot of people didn't show, but can you let's as an administrator, as an athletic director, can you talk to the coaches about the importance of, and we've mentioned it a little bit, but the importance of getting better, especially in your sector, because people may go and pay for a Nike coaches clinic, right? Okay, that's because it's going to be out of town. We can go out of town and kick it. Or, they go to the Final Four. We call it the coaches convention because it's you're going to learn all day and you can party at night. But it's people that just, hey, I'm going to the Final Four to just party. But
Correct.
especially when it's something that your particular community is offering. So CPS offered like a coaches clinic, and the turnout wasn't what it should have been. So as an administrator, like, let's talk to the coaches right now, TJ, and like, I'm gonna let you just do what you do, but talk to the coaches about how that made you feel and why we're probably not doing as good as we can by our kids.
Okay, well, and with girls, yeah, I'm coming back. As long as you don't have the reps. But okay, first of all, it's very important. Like I was telling Bailey earlier that I was on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
And it was set up for Chicago Public Schools.
Yeah.
Coaches. And Corey Irving and Cindy Irvin was the moderators.
Mm.
And we had some AAU coaches on there too from the city that works public schools also. And I can almost count them. You had Kenwood, you had Hyde Park, you had Phillips, you had myself, you had coaches from Al Raby, you had coach from Dunbar. But that's a shame if I can just name all the schools.
Right.
That's a shame. And what I heard is that there's something like 84 public schools.
Mm.
Or like 84 teams, not even talking about the charter schools.
Right.
And if only 15 coaches get on a Zoom, and we were talking about stuff like, give me your practice. What's a normal practice? Brooks?
Yeah.
But what's your normal practice? What do you do?
Yeah.
That's not giving up no trade secret, coaches.
Right.
That's just telling them, share what you do, which everybody need to do.
Yeah.
Because you know as well as I know, there's quite a few of y'all don't have coaching plans for the day.
Absolutely.
Y'all gym teachers. You're rolling the ball out. And you have to plan. But those are the things that we were sharing. How do you run a 2-2-1?
Right.
That's what we need to do is share. But like I say, the public coaches think that they have monopolies on stuff. And they don't own anything. Because number one, it's only a few of us even winning.
Right.
I mean, winning to that point.
Speak on it.
Some of us only play our conference games. That's a shame. You ain't cheating yourself, you're cheating them kids.
Cheating kids, right. Yeah.
Just
to be able to put them in a whole different environment.
Correct. You're trying to give kids experiences, different experiences.
Yeah.
Going to different schools, meeting other people. But that's who y'all cheating. You're not cheating me.
Right.
Because I'm gonna do what I have to do, and those other coaches those on there, they're going to do what they have to do
right.
to make their team successful and for them to be successful. So we're trying to get everybody into the same pool because, right now, the public school really don't care about the girls. We're second fiddle. We're second fiddle. We have to scream Title IX to get what we want.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But it starts with the coaches, though. All the coaches, like the Chicago Public League Coaching Association.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's dying. There's only a few coaches that want to participate, but then they want their kids in the all-star game. Mm-hmm. They want their girls to be all city, all conference.
But they aren't participating in the other side of the game because, and as you said, with education or basketball, it's a business also. Exactly. And if you can't, the process, and as you said, you was fired because the principal said that you admitted a student into the school and you don't even work there unless no one got, the access to that particular system, right? But as coaches, we have to get that information so that now we can go back and help develop everybody. But I thought that was a poignant point that you talked about prior to us even coming on. I'm like, for real, because I didn't know about it. Yeah. And, it's like, okay, and I'm not, even though, I'm a vendor, but I don't know about everything that goes on. I would have loved to be a part of the panel or, whatever. But, I didn't hear anybody else talking about it either. But the point is, it don't take a lot now. It used to be when you got to go to the rules and interpretation meeting, and now you got to drive to another school after practice, all that. All you got to do is sit down and log on and learn. And
hey, half of them cutting out on that, man. They just got the video on.
Right.
They don't know the rule.
Right.
They just got the video on.
Right.
So they can get the credit.
Right. So how are we really helping those individuals that we're dealing with if we're not equipped ourselves? And it goes back to what you're saying. You got to be straight.
Yep.
And if you're not straight, how can you help somebody else be straight? I know, Stub is on and when I first met Stub and he and Stearns, I know Stearns is your frat brother and, but he and Stearns used to, go at it. And I used to love watching them go at it because it wasn't about women's basketball. I think that they both understood who they were coaching, but neither one of them, and kind of like you, didn't coach the game like you were coaching girls. You all coach the game like you're coaching basketball.
Right.
And you just so happen to be working with girls. Does that make sense? People, hey, I don't, if some girls don't want to catch the ball, don't want to play hard, don't want to get hit. But I used to enjoy watching them. And it was funny to me when I found out you and Stub were like boys. It's like, okay, it makes so much sense because you hang around with like-minded folks, if that makes sense. And so it's about coaching the game of basketball, regardless who you're working with. And it's about developing our youth, regardless if they boys, girls, high school, middle school, grammar school, but how can we pour into somebody else so that we can help contribute to their life and make it, fun. So that's just my piece on it, how, I always took, you and man, you done brought Coach Tony Mays out, man.
What's up, bro?
Man, it's funny, I always say it's funny depending on each guest that I have on the show, but to bring people out, and I'm glad with this because I've been saying I've had a couple lower level or like AAU coaches on that coach, the women's side, but but like past shows that had Taranika on, that had some other people, but I really, really want to bring awareness to the women's basketball game. As I said, Stubb does a great job. Coach Mays does a great job. I was trying to get over there with him and my boy Jack. The same way with you. Like, hey, let me come in, help talk to the team a little bit.
Well,
about. No, no, and you know what? You are the only public league coach, and I'm gonna say it. I'm going on record. You the only public league coach that invested into your athletes and brought them in. But guess what? That's the same team that won a sectional championship too, TJ.
Yeah.
You invested into them and poured into them. But yeah, man, if I can get, be able to get guys like Coach Mays on and Coach Stubb, just to be able to, share their story. And even, Kennard has always done a great job, not only as a coach, but just as somebody that is going to make sure the piece is right. If that makes sense, he going do his job. But the last question that I want to ask you is,
you still straight, Dino.
That's an inside joke, and I already know it, But as Dino said about boogity boogity, you've always played a fast tempo game, TJ.
Yep.
But the last point that I want you to teach on, is certain things that you have to do to be a fast-paced team. And one of the first things that you have to be able to do to be a fast-paced team, you can't boogity boogity if you're not a good defensive rebounding team. So can you talk about that?
Well, personally, rebounding is the key to any game. Rebounding and, like you said, defense. If you can do those two things, you will win 3/4 of every game that you play. But another thing about doing boogity boogity, you have to be in shape.
Got to be in shape. Now, what's more important, and I think that I already know, but which shape is more important, physically or mentally?
Well, you have to be able to think. You have to be. But you have to be conditioned to think under pressure.
I like that.
And boogity boogity is pressure.
It's under pressure. Right. And so that's a whole different mindset, really. I mean, because you can think in a classroom or wherever, but now under pressure, it's almost like your natural state versus your adaptive state when you adapting. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I always say, because people love to fast break. They just want a fast break. But you have to be a different type of good to fast break off a made basket. And if you're not playing no defense, the other team gonna get made baskets.
Exactly.
Which now get them time to set up their press and whole other things.
Yep.
But if you can play defense, as you said, and if you can be a good rebounding team.
Okay, bro. It will.
Well, now, okay, Tony. Now you all can bring the heat. See, they go stuff. But now you can put the pressure on people because
thanks, Doc.
You're able to get them to react, right? And so and it's a thing with, do you do things off instinct, right? If it's as an educator, as a coach, are you doing things off instinct, especially as a player? Or are you thinking about it? Most times when they get to thinking about it, as you say, thinking under pressure, lights out. And I go back to what you told me. You said, Bailey, most coaches think for their players. So if you make the players think for themselves,
you done
and
won.
you won. And nowadays, and on the flip side, most students, right? Most students, the teachers almost have to think for themselves, or they got this thing, right? Which they got a whole computer in their hand, and so now they a Siri or whoever, and they, and it's like, when I used to go in these buildings, if I'm subbing or going in with my program, and I'm like, how are y'all learning? Like, y'all really not learning. Y'all are memorizing, one, and probably just cheating, two. But if you boogity and you can't do that, because you can't cheat it, because until you secure that rebound, you can't go.
Yep.
And if the coach, you can't say, and I never forget, I was saying the other night on the show, I never forget when I came to work that day, and me, you, and Lou was walking upstairs, and I told y'all, I said, listen, man, I said, as long as I'm coaching, I ain't never doing another rebounding drill, because that don't matter. Like, and yeah, you can teach them the fundamentals of rebounding, but you got to want to go get the basketball. Does that make sense, TJ?
Well, the same way you got to want to play defense.
You got to want to play defense. Yep.
You got to.
Yep.
Because, in today's, all you want to do is shoot. You want to just shoot the three. You ain't playing. You don't want to play no defense. Come on.
Yeah.
So it's a desire. You have to have a desire to rebound and a desire to play defense.
You got to want it. Yeah. You definitely got to want it. And and it's almost like, education,
Hey,
I mean, you gotta want it. And, Rick used to be in our, coffee meetings, I'm saying, our breakfast club. And, he was the only non-coach at that particular time, but as an athlete and, being there and, teaching students of life about what we've dealt with basketball, man. So, TJ, man, I thank you for, just you taking this time. And me and you can go on and on and on all night, because that's just, what we do. And, and it's not just always about basketball, as you said about, we talked about the educational system, talked about, just being good people, being and being able to continue to be a lifelong learner. I think what happens a lot of times, and I think what one of your pet peeves is with public league coaches, because that's what we were talking about tonight, right? That's why I wanted you to help the coaches, the younger coaches, especially public league coaches, to where they feel like they've gotten to a point to where they don't need to learn, or they can only learn from certain people. And as you've always taught me, you can learn from everybody, even if you learn what not to do. And so, you have to be willing to put yourself in certain situations to just be able to get better, so that you can help those individuals that we're working with, to get better. And I mean, as you said again, when we first started, you want to help those that need help, and I think that we have to be able to be those individuals that can help motivate and inspire people to feel a certain way about themselves. Because if you don't feel a certain way about yourself, you're not going to even acknowledge that you need help, and you sure ain't going to receive the help. Because, it's like, who in the hell are you to teach me or to tell me something and I don't need the help? So just being able to self-assess where we need to go, and any pivots that we need to do. And I think that, again, and I don't want to say at your age, but at this point of your career, you're continuously learning, and you probably forgot more basketball than some of the young coaches even know. But the simple fact that you continue to, you want to continue to learn, and as, Principal Andrew said, like, you want to be the best at what you do. You want to have excellence, and it's a standard of excellence. Me being a star, right? Like, Coach Mays understand, right? Like,
Yep.
and at that point at Ridge South, it's like the school of excellence. So we can't be perfect, but we can strive for excellence. And if we don't damn near demand excellence, we really doing the people that we serve a disjustice. Would you agree?
I agree. Hey man, you have to work to get what you want.
Yeah. 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 So Marvin said, once you find out you have the talent to be a transition team, what's the fundamental skill set to introduce at the first practice? That's a great question.
Outlet pass.
Oh, got to get the ball up the court if you're going to boogity.
Outlet pass. And they have to have their back to
the sideline.
Sideline.
Now,
just in case somebody jump up on them trying to trap them, you don't travel.
And they turn around, travel, or they get an offensive foul. Hey, now that's teaching, TJ. That's because people don't understand that if you run a sideline break, secondary break, primary fast break, which are three totally different things, right? You can't catch the ball with your back to the other side of the court. Because as you say, now when you turn around, you startle. Now you're reacting instead of just playing off instinct. If you catch the ball with your shoulders facing each side of the rim, your back to the sideline, now you can look up court and see. So that's a great point. That outlet pass, get it and be able to get it up court.
Yep.
That's a great point. That's a great point, man. Before I let you go, TJ, I want to ask you just a couple more questions, but I'm gonna do some housekeeping. Understanding life through the game of basketball, right? So, as I said, the show was birthed from this book. This is my baby, really.
And I got it.
First one, yeah, yes, sir. TJ does have it, and you know what? The first chapter of this book. Once you get this book, and you've heard about TJ, but the first chapter of this book talks about three different types of coaches, right? Three different types of coaches. And I've never said this, but I've actually talked about you and Lou in the first chapter, because y'all are two totally different coaches.
Yep.
And me and you, it's like, hey, they gotta have the same shoes, same socks. Lou's like, Mr. Bailey, I don't give a damn what they got on, as long as they perform while they out there. I ain't tripping about soccer. So it's three different type of coaches, but this book just talks about just the basic concepts of sport, but in our case, basketball, and how you can use basic fundamentals and basic concepts of basketball and be able to apply them to life. Everything that we talked about tonight also applies to life, because even that outlet pass, TJ, goes back to what? Sharing.
Yeah.
And so when you understand certain basketball concepts, it'll help you to be able to understand life better. So this book will teach you to be a better leader, not just a better coach, but a better leader. And so that's the first book. And so I have this book in a bundle with this book, as well as the first two seasons of this show. We're in season 4 now, but this book, TJ, we've all had those players, right? We talked about Shami or some other players, that can flat out play. Well, certain athletes get in what they call a zone, and they can't explain that zone, but they might have gotten into that zone after one of your halftime speeches, right? To where now you've been able to motivate them, you've been able to direct them with a certain strategy to put themselves in a certain mental state of mind. And once they got into that mental state of mind, and that's what this book breaks down, it talks about the development, the experience, as well as the performance. So once they put all three of those together, that's what I call the perfect storm, because now mentally you're in the right state of mind, offensively and defensively, because you can say, okay, you know what? based on my experience, I've been here before. Based
Yep.
on my development, I know I'm ready. And based on my performance, I know that I can get myself in that mental state. So now we can go do whatever it is that we need to do. So this book is kind of like the inspiration, and it talks about how to just lock in as a student, as an athlete, through things like meditation, imagery, visualizing, being able to put yourself in that moment before the moment occurs. And a lot of times as coaches, we do that. You understand if you go in to play Coach Mays or Coach Stubb or Kennard, whoever, like you can put yourself in that situation. I know what's going to happen. I know what we need to do here. I know what we need to do there. But again, do our athletes really know if we're not telling them? So this book really goes into more of the mental aspect. So, they actually get both books in a bundle with the first 2 seasons of this show. I always just, throw that out there because, again, everybody don't want to learn, TJ, and I've understood that, right? It takes a special person to pick up a book and be able to read it, as opposed to a person that can go on YouTube and watch something. Both are great, but I've been doing this for 27 years. You've been doing this over 40, right?
Yeah.
If somebody can get 27 years of experience in a 2 to 4 day read, you winning. Less known, 2 seasons, which is over 20. We're on episode 36 of this particular season, but over 2 seasons of former episodes, and they're all like this, to where they're professional and personal development. You heard, Rick say, now that he getting into coaching, he can appreciate this platform because it's educational. And it's not just talking about how we're going to dribble a basketball, but how we can use those things, again, that little orange ball, to be able to help us so much. And, before we get out of here, and this is something that you taught me too, as an administrator with basketball, you said if principals or administrators understood that athletics will increase the attendance, it will increase the enrollment, thus increasing the financials, right? Because if it's increasing the enrollment, increasing the attendance, and now if they're in school, and if they're coming to school, a byproduct of that, they're gonna get better grades because they're in the building. Does that make sense? And I know it makes sense because you told me that. And when we come in, we let principals know, like, we're going to improve the attendance, we're going to help improve the grades, and we may not improve the enrollment, but we're going to improve the culture and climate in the building. But as you said, from an athletic standpoint, and I'm gonna get on my soapbox for 1 second. Majority of students in one building are athletes. You're an AD, so you cover all sports. Majority of students in any particular building have one thing in common: they're athletes. So if the athletes can learn how to act, treat others the right way, learn how to, as you said, when you went to college, you had to learn how to deal with school. If we can get our athletes to understand this, as you said, athletes gonna follow athletes regardless of what sport they play. Exactly. Now the whole culture has shifted because of athletics. And we've seen it, if it's like at or with other schools, but that's one of my pet peeves that I, because again, with you don't have a lot of administrators that are for sports. When you get one that's for sports, and you got a good one that, because they understand the importance and the correlation of athletics and just the culture of the building, so I think that, that's, just totally amazing. But before we go, so Tony said that we jump out to the sideline with a quick look up the floor before catching the ball. Don't want to catch travel, right? Because of defender.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, that's
Yep.
yeah, that's how it is. You know, there you go, Nick, TJ. What up? Oh. Yeah, you know,
getting some knowledge, Nick.
yeah. Hey, man, yeah, you know, hopefully you know, we can get Nick on, man. You know, if you know, once he called me back, congratulations on the, you know, the Western job, definitely. But yeah, it's all about education, TJ, and we have to be able to get that education and then share that education. Yep. But before I go, man, so I got this thing called the hot seat, and it's just 3 simple questions, but it gets to making you think. I'm gonna come out the gate with this one early, and I like to ask this question on the women's side. If you had a choice, you had one player that you could put on your team. Are you rolling with E.C. Hill or Kim Williams?
I'm gonna roll with EC.
Okay, why?
Because she could do both.
What you mean?
Well,
they call her Lady Jordan, TJ.
I said offensively and defensively. You know, she's a little dog.
Okay. Greatest basketball moment as a coach, as an administrator, greatest basketball moment.
Well, this would have to be on the boys' side. The greatest one I saw. You know,
what was that?
Being the AD of Orr's second state championship when Tyron dunked on the boy
down the lane.
It changed the whole game.
Down the middle of the lane, yep.
Changed the whole game. And I actually have a photo of that. I didn't take it, but I have a photo of that.
And you know what's funny? Because the camera went to y'all after that. I don't know why, and I remember it was you, Principal Andrews, and Principal Sims was there too. And like y'all was all sitting together, and the principal paying over to y'all, and you doing what you do now. You were just smiling, like, but I don't think that people understand talking about the process, right? About like that was a long journey. You know, again, we had went to at that time when I was, you know, as helping as a consultant or helping Lou or helping you, but you know, and go and you know lose to to Nick and them, you know, downstate when they had Billy, you know, and them at that point in time. So, but just understanding everything it took to get there. So even that first one I missed because I don't know what I was doing, but I missed that game. But the second one I was able to sit and watch the whole game and just proud because those kids were freshmen.
Right.
When I was there, you know, and just see the development, you know, how they were as freshmen. And then before I left in the middle of the year, the sophomore year, but like that one was special to me also because I'm like, these boys then grew up, but I was just happy for the staff because of everything that went into it that a lot of people don't see. And I know Nick understand or anybody else that has won a championship understand, you know, it's more dark days than it is you know, when the sun is shining. So my last question, Stub said when he be called.
Oh man, Stub, y'all cheated as normal.
So my last hot seat question, TJ, is who is the best player that you've ever coached?
I've had some good ones now, Bailey.
I know it.
I had some good ones, man. I mean,
who was the best? And I'm saying by TJ standards. Because obviously they got to play both ends of the quarter. They're not going to play. But who was the
best? One time I wanted to say, that's hard, man, because I had the Kendall Dunns, I had the Shami Goodmans,
Give me two.
I'm gonna say Shami and Kendall.
Mm.
And she didn't get a lot of recognition, but she was my glue. Her name is Deborah Jenkins.
Jenkins. Oh, yeah, she was a whole different.
I'm just saying.
She was different.
Very
different.
I mean,
Different. But you know what? I forgot about Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall was real good.
Yeah, she was.
Kendall was real good. Mm.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, you're right though. Brittany, Lil B or Big B was something else, man. That girl was.
Let me ask you this question, man, because my son is calling me like, man, you've been in there for 3 hours, man. What you and TJ talking about? In closing, TJ, and again, sincerely though, because I know you don't pop out a lot, like you say, you'll be on some Zooms, but stay on mute. But and the people that you're gonna talk, the ones that's on here, they know you're gonna talk. But for the ones that will see this, the ones that have not, that may not know about TJ, and this is why, I wanted to bring you on the show just to showcase your talents, your mind, to get people to understand about TJ Flicks too. Tap into TJ Flicks, tjflicks.com, and go and get you some picture packages, from TJ. I mean, because he good, as I say, and again, I ain't gonna tell you do something out that I ain't did,
Exactly.
and me and my family done, had TJ come out. But yeah, go and check it out. But just to bring more awareness to you as a coach, and even, bring more awareness to Orr High School, bring more awareness to Morgan Park High School.
Thank
you. But in closing, TJ, how can we make basketball better?
How can we make it better? I just got to go back to the same thing, sharing. We all got to, there's no difference in boys and girls. We have to respect each other and share with each other. That's the only way to help make the kids better.
Because TJ, that's what it should be all about, right?
Yeah.
That's what it should be all about.
That's what it should be about.
Should be all about. Respect and sharing. We got to respect one another, and we got to share with one another. Yeah, no. And as I say, Kennard, I got 4 pages. Of notes just from this. But, we basically went through, TJ's story, and, again, how that ball, helped, just, change your life, and just the, basketball principles, man. And so, I think that we did God's work tonight. I always say, after, the end of, the shows, if I really think that we educated, that we did the work that God needed us to do tonight with it. Hopefully, the show even went beyond what you thought that it was going to be, in terms of being able to offer, things back to, the viewing audience, but I definitely, appreciate you, man. And, depending on how and when outside open back up, definitely get over there to, check y'all out. Gonna have to get, go. Now I'm gonna have to get you to talk to Principal Andrews and Principal Scanes to help a brother get to be able to help our kids, help me help our kids, but yeah, no, man, I sincerely appreciate it. And as I always say in closing, keep striving for the top, because it is crowded as hell at the bottom. So until next time, we appreciate y'all for checking it out. Again, go check out TJ Flicks. I will definitely put the link in to where you can get your book bundle, if that's what you want to do. If you want to make a donation to the show, whatever you want to do, but definitely go check out Coach Thomas Johnson and everything that he's doing with the work that he's putting in on all these levels. A proven winner, a Hall of Famer. TJ, I appreciate you. And again, y'all keep striving for the top, because the bottom, you got to muscle through because it's crowded as hell. So until next time, my people, we'll talk to y'all a little bit later. All right.
Thanks, brother.
Yep.
Okay.
Peace.
Peace.